Yeah, and so we'll seat a fifth, right, for voting?
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Do we need to seat a fifth? For anything? Yeah, just regular members voting for office.
So just be a school.
Yeah. Okay. Get the agenda All right, well, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Right, everything all set?
Yeah.
Okay, Hiram, you're good? Everybody's good here? Okay, this is the January 7th, 2026 meeting, Bethany Planning and Zoning. In attendance tonight with Hiram Peck, Town Planner, Veronica Novak, Land Use Clerk, who is assisting in lieu of our CEO. Donna Cahill, okay, stenographer recording this evening, and now we have Brian Fournier. You're not gonna say Fournier or Fournier, what do you prefer?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, Brian Fournier, alternate member. Adam Harrington, member. Nancy Helchiki, member and chair. We have Bob Harrison, member. Brad Gupta, alternate member. And we have Karen Mullen, who's present this evening. First order of business is election of officers for the next term. We have 4 members here tonight to vote on that. I essentially said I would like to step down. I would be okay with being vice chair to help with continuity. I won't fight anybody, so if somebody really wants to be vice
So I'd like to
chair.
take the opportunity. Stephen Horn, who's here, and Nancy. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Like I congratulations to He's running another meeting. Okay. Oh, what was that? We need to select this. Okay. We have a nomination for secretary.
I guess I would like to nominate Adam Carrington.
Any other nominations? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations. Okay. Okay, so I guess I did the roll call before. We need to do another roll call now. Thank you. We do have quorum this evening. We have 4 members present, and we'll seat an alternate where necessary. Review and approval of prior meeting minutes. This is from December 3rd, 2025. It was a small novella. Does any time to look at it? I didn't see anything. So we have a motion to approve the minute. Yes, we just reviewed abstain. Okay, I see.
She watched. Yes, I did.
If you're comfortable with it, otherwise I was here. You were. did anybody find anything amiss? Or I did not. Okay, so, like I said, there were 11 pages. So in terms of, I can vote, Adam, you were present, right?
As a guest.
As, okay, yeah, as an observer. Is there a quorum? Is it just people who are seated can vote, or who?
It's their familiar. Familiar with
Okay, so if you're comfortable in voting, otherwise you can abstain. Do we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
so
Do we have a second? All right. And I'll say one more time, any discussion, comments regarding this? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The next item is, publications, commission action. There's no publication submitted for the commission at this time. So we'll roll through that. Next item, correspondence, commission action. 34 Ann Drive letters from owners in response to notice of potential zoning violation and complaints. Hiram, I guess with respect to this one, right, I know we have CEO report at the end of the meeting.
yeah, these are letters that are all in the record now. Mission, look at them, review them, and whatever, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so those, and I know, I think they continue to come in. I think there's been some between okay. 32 Old Amity Road, letter from owner in response to notice of potential zoning violation complaint. And again, I think that's going to roll into CEO site. And then 51 Emerald Lane, letter from owner in response to previous complaint. So just formal notification of receipt of those. Next item, review and approval of bills with commission action. So, just one this evening? Okay, this is, is it in there separate?
I'm sorry, I had to bring it out.
Oh, it's the paper one actually there. All right, we'll do them separately then. Okay, so first one I have Hiram Peck, submitted invoice for $2,000. Services rendered for December 2025. Do we have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Okay. And the second one is for Donna. This, again, is a service for this evening, $150 for services this evening. Do we have a motion to approve? Abstentions? All right, looks like we got 4 minutes maybe before we can start the hearing. Say, Hiram, if you have any recommendations, if anybody has anything that's a 4 to 5 minute discussion item. Otherwise, we'll just wait.
We constantly had on our the continued discussion for the long-term planning strategy for the village center, the USCD. Separate, together, ever.
Yeah, I think we've all agreed that the P probably needs to be separated from the Z. And, now that we have a new slate of folks here, we can pick some independent meetings for that. And I guess we'll just make note, this is, for anybody who's following along at home, this is section 10, continued commission and staff report discussion. ZEO submitted request for, so an RFP went out for land use permitting software to first selectmen. So there's bids out for that. I guess it's RFP 25006. Anybody interested, that's in the town's website. Do we have anything to add, Veronica, on that one? It's just,
No, that's.
okay. Okay.
Like, the, they did send it. Secretary.
Okay, so essentially we're compliant, we can close that unless we hear otherwise. The, letter E in that section, SCROG, communication to staff or, PMC commission, dated September 11th of last year. RFP for municipal loan program, I don't have anything active on that.
Can give you 2-second version of this. The housing committee and housing task force have been working on very short. This particular home might be something.
Okay, all right, thank you. You have 7:15, Veronica, I'll call you the official timekeeper.
Finish up it.
Sure.
Continuing CEO report. So, just want to tell you that those items have been listed there for a while. They are laying the current status of various items that they'll be looked into with the,
Okay, so that's with respect to, I'm looking at, there's a number of properties with regard to fire safety, so that one, is just, I'll say, active discussion with town attorney?
Yeah.
Okay, so no
no action.
action on our part, okay. You wanna hit another one before we begin?
That's the whole business.
Okay, so set inclusive of 74 Amity Road and 212. No, and 75 Crest with no action for any of us. Okay. Closes section.
Nancy, did you want to see one of the alternates?
Yeah, I guess we could do that right now, right? Because, if we potential voting, we see somebody before?
No, for me, no hearing.
Okay, all right, so it must be 7:15 by now, right? Okay. So it's 7:15, so we'll call the public hearing, we'll begin the public hearing, call to order. Once again, around the room, we have, Hiram Peck, town planner, Veronica Nolan, who was, the Bethany land use clerk, who is kindly sitting in lieu of a ZEO, Donna Cahill, stenographer for this evening. We have Brian Fournier, P&Z alternate, Adam Carrington, member, Nancy Held Sheehy, vice chair, Bob Thornquist, Bob Harrison. I'm known for the Bob Harrison member, Brad Gupta alternate, and Karen Muller member. So, we will seat one alternate this evening in case there's voting. Do either of you want to volunteer? I think we'll just start on,
Sure, that.
yeah, and then you'll be the next step. Okay, we'll try and keep, one of us should make a note of the rotation.
Used to have a sheet.
I know.
That I think when the room was renovated, it was. Excellent.
Yeah, so let me just do it. So Adam, we used Adam before. Tonight, we're going to seat Brian, and then that leaves you, so you're up next. All right, so, first public hearing, this is for application 2025-011 TSC Properties LLC at 211 Cheshire Road, B&I zone. Proposal application, permit submission for the construction of two 10,000 square foot commercial buildings and associated improvements for construction company. So Hiram, should we begin with the presentation, I guess, in terms of applicant? Yes.
Is here to support the mission and public.
Mhm. Before you begin also, I know we have minutes, right? I think there were, were there discrete actions, like, I'm just gonna ask in the beginning if there were any discrete actions, did you ask about lighting? And I'm assuming, as long as you have these addressed, I guess. Okay.
We addressed everything that was raised by what the commission, what the public health. We all went through that, and then if there's any further questions from the commission, we're welcome to respond to those in that public plan. Good evening, members of the board. I'm Victor, for the record, Luke Sosa, licensed professional engineer with John Walker Associates, business 190 Fairwood Road. Here on behalf of the property owner, TSC Property LLC, 211 Pressure Road. I won't reiterate too much of the presentation from the last meeting, but for the members who may not have been from the board for the last meeting, this is 211 Chester Road. It's property in the B&I zone on the north side of Route 42, just west of the intersection with Route 69. Again, it is land at the B&I zone. The applicant is proposing to install two 10,000 square foot commercial building. Support of their construction company, McAllen Construction. First, there was concern raised, I believe, from members of the public at the last meeting that the application material was not available. So we confirmed with Veronica that any interested members of the public were given access. So I hope anyone who was unable to at the last meeting has been able to familiarize themselves with that. Since the last meeting, we have submitted updating or supplemental documents. We've revised sheet C4 and C5, the site development, the drainage plan. We've added sheet C9 for the request of the commission to related landscaping plan, as well as submitted architectural plans for the proposed commercial building. We prepared a sketch showing proximity of the proposed commercial development and surrounding residential properties, and submitted information regarding traffic study requirements. So all of that should be in the packets we dropped off Dr. Veronica. And I will start with discussion of the traffic study. So at the last meeting, several questions were raised regarding whether a full traffic study was required. Town planner Hiram Peck asked us to provide background on whether a study may or may not be required. So we have submitted a letter into the record stating that the regulations for this application do not require a traffic study. The Bethany zoning regulations are very specific. They don't require a traffic study for site plan applications in BNI zones, which is what this application is. The only place that the regulations require a traffic study is section 6.4.c, which is specifically for special permit application for shopping centers, which this application clearly is. And as well, this is a state road, Route 42. So any traffic information would also be subject to the requirement. And we also included in that letter technical brief from the DOT 2021-3. Which again states that this application from a DOT perspective does not rise to the level of requiring a traffic study. It's not a major traffic generator, which is defined by 100 units of housing, 200 parking spaces, which so the Bethany zoning regulations and the DOT requirements, both of which would govern this property, a traffic study is not required for this. However, we did still feel like it could be appropriate to speak to the actual traffic impact of this proposal. So we have submitted into the record traffic counts from Route 42 that were completed by DOT in January of 2025, right in front of the site. The traffic counts show that existing ambient background traffic is approximately 7,300 cars per day total on Route 42. The intersection, approximately 800 feet to the east of our site, will provide traffic light control to this intersection. And the new contribution for this project, expected to be around 20 trips per day, is entirely insignificant compared to background traffic. So even without a full traffic impact study, we hope we've provided some clarity to the commission. As well, there was concern by some of the neighboring residential residents about potential traffic. And we would just like to show again, if we go back to the site map, there will be no traffic from this development that goes anywhere near any of the residential streets. So the project is directly on Route 42. From Route 42, there's easy access directly from the site to Route 69 to the east and Route 63 to the west. So any commercial traffic entering or leaving the site will go directly from Route 42 to Route 69 or 63 to go north and south, or Route 42 to go east and west, and we'll have no to go anywhere near Sabrina Drive or Oak Ridge Drive or anything. From a visual impact perspective, there was concern expressed at the last meeting by several residents on Sabrina Drive who testified that the commercial buildings would be highly visible from their homes. We have provided aerial photos just to hopefully provide some assurances. The nearest property on Sabrina Drive is over 1,000 feet away and screened by dense mature woods as well across 42. The existing houses on Cheshire Road are over 1,100 feet away, again with dense mature wood screening. And the houses on Cheshire Road will have the residential site at 195 Cheshire Road, which is also owned by the applicant, supposed to be residentially developed to provide another buffer to the BNI. Finally, all clearing on the site, if we go to the site plan, sheet C4. All clearing on the front of the commercial site does fall within an upland review area, and as such is governed by the Wetlands Commission's approved limits of disturbance. The only clearing that's proposed to be done in the front portion of the site is an approximately 40-foot wide strip of clearing that will allow the installation of 24-foot wide poles to access the site. And all of this to the left and right of the site driveway will remain as the dense mature woods. And no disturbance can occur there without being in violation of the wetlands permit. So even from visual impact from Route 42 should be negligible or minimal when you account for the first building is 400 feet off the road. We're limited by the amount that can be cleared entering the site. And again, even the 400 feet from Route 42 give another over 500 feet to the nearest house. So we hope that has provided some assurances to residential property owners. Now touching on the revisions that were made to the site plans. There were no changes made to sheet C1 for C3. Site C4 of sheet C4, we made minor revisions A business sign was added along the street. There were some questions at the last meeting. The applicant does intend to put a small sign for their business and a landscape island at the street. Overhead doors have been indicated on the buildings to match the architectural plans that have been provided. 3 overhead doors facing to the west have been shown for loading of equipment and materials into the building. Gravel driveway has been added at the back to access the active storage area, as well as, again, from a traffic perspective, we've added site distances from the site driveway to both the west and the east. 600 feet is provided to the west from the site driveway, and 800 feet is provided to the east, which well exceeds the DOT requirements for stopping site distance for 40 miles per hour. So again, that's something that will fall under the jurisdiction of DOT, but we figured we'd add it to the plan just again to provide assurances that the site driveway as designed does exceed DOT requirements. Moving to sheet C5, which is the grading and drainage plan. The same changes that were mentioned on the previous one in terms of overhead doors being shown and the gravel driveway. No other substantial changes that were not described for sheet C4, but this was just updated to keep clarity within the set. Finally, moving to sheet C9, which is the new sheet that was provided at the request of the commission. This is a site lighting and landscaping plan. There were questions raised at the last meeting. The applicant's intent is to light the parking and driveway areas with shielded downlights that are going to be installed on buildings. We have specified a light fixture that meets the requirements of the zoning regulations in terms of being a full cutoff downlight. All lighting, we've shown foot candle diagrams on here showing 0 light spill at the property lines. So the lighting is in full compliance with the town of Bethany zoning regulations for industrial use. As well, we've added landscaping for trees in the parking area as required at the rate for the amount of parking spaces that we are providing. As well as we have shown, the intention of the applicant is to preserve as much existing mature forest as possible to provide the buffer guard screening requirements, which is encouraged by section 9.1.1, 9.1.1.10 of the zoning regulations. And we've added dimensions. These are the approved limits of clearing by the Wetlands Commission event, and dimensions showing that it exceeds the requirements for this type of use, which would be a B&I use bordering another B&I use, and a B&I use bordering a residential use for sure. And then finally going to sheets A1 and A2. As requested by the commission, the building plans have been provided. The intent is for a standard metal butler building, 100 by 100. Both buildings will have the same footprint. 3 overhead doors, access out the parking area, as well as man doors for emergency entrance, exit. We go to elevations. The buildings will be single-story metal prefabricated with a split float faced block low, of course. In compliance with all regulations for height, building coverage, building mass, etc. So,
Just I have it immediately in front of me. What is the height of the building?
it's 25'6" at the taller end, where the zone permits 35. 10 feet shorter. There's, yep, so as described at the last meeting, we do have approved septic system and wells from GBHD for both this property and the neighboring residential property. Those are shown on the sheet. And we do have septic permit, approval letter from GBHD. So that's the summary of the changes from the last meeting. I would like to introduce Attorney General Ryan with Felicia and Ryan. He would like to introduce a legal opinion for the record. And then we can do a brief closing and then open the floor to questions from the commission and public comment. Thank you.
Chaz Ryan, attorney Philip Ryan, attorney Judge, supposed to be here. She had a family issue to take care of, but she asked me to submit the legal opinion on behalf of our client for May. Chair, if you have a number of copies, if you'd like to know. Pass those to people, please. Let's keep this under an hour. Yeah, please. Succinct legal opinion. I'm not going to read the legal opinion, but I just want to point out two specific issues here. One, general statute 8-3 G allows the site plan to be modified and denied only if it fails to comply with requirements in the regulations. That's important. And then also that when the commission is reviewing the site plan, the commission has no independent discretion beyond determining whether the plan complies with the regulation, which would include zoning regulations. So that's my full hour. And I'm here to answer questions in conjunction with, if you want to submit this thing to the commission's consideration. You're on? Pretty good. Thank you.
So in summary, we believe that the submitted materials have addressed the board and public's concerns from the previous meeting. Not to reiterate too much of what was stated at the last meeting, but the application represents a permitted substandard use for the B&I zone. The plan before you fully complies with all bulk requirements of the B&I zone. It's a permitted use, meets all the requirements for the permitted zone. And the project brings a new business opportunity to Bethany and does so in a zone that it's intended for with minimal impact to the road network. We appreciate the board's time and consideration. I'm happy to answer questions or open to whatever the board would like to do.
Just one quick question. And I was really trying to find my meeting minutes. We're gonna need a bigger table. So I'm just trying to recall, some of the questions that had been posed. Can you clarify just what is gonna be stored in there? Because, I think I recall, it was plows, trucks of that nature for snow plowing, but I think the actual application says construction equipment. So can you just, because it's either inclusive or it's both, I just want to reconcile and fully understand the intent.
Yeah, I'll defer to Mike McGowan, just be under that.
We do emergency sewer.
I guess you probably want to introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
And Kate Val's takes a lot of roads, they're heading for, oh, I'm like, and it takes, you know, a lot of storage, you know, the Kate Val to the shelves and over there. That's copper. Snowplows take a lot.
So it's predominantly the snow plows and the material to maintain
Yeah,
the plows?
yeah, standards.
Okay.
What about like salt and sand that you use for the roads?
No, when we filed for the state, we're not allowed to spread the salt anymore, so there's no salt.
So you'll be keeping sand in the outdoor?
No,
area?
no sand.
No sand. Okay, the other question, you have a very small outdoor storage area and very large asphalt area. The plans to store equipment in that asphalt area as well. How will that be used besides turning trailers and putting trucks?
If you can't turn a trailer. My goal is to keep everything inside the building, but, you know, I don't know, maybe a trailer could sit outside or truck.
And we have submitted just in regards to the outdoor storage area, we have submitted a detailed statement use for the project. I won't read it again, in the last meeting, but in accordance with the regulations, we have submitted specific, limited objects and items that would be stored outside.
Yeah. Catch basins,
That's in the back area, right? The 30 by 100 outdoor storage area.
That's on the east side of the lot.
Okay.
What did you say the distance was for 69?
From the building, to the property, 69, I apologize. It's 1,000 feet from this western wall. So the B&I zone, to show you on the 69 would be at the bottom. 69,
32.
yeah, 69 is down here.
Right.
42. Right. So this line, as part of this application, there is a lot line revision currently. 211 Cheshire Road has property that is in both the R65 and the I zone, which is highly irregular. So as part of it, we are proposing to redraw the line for 211 Cheshire Road at this zoning line, which is 1,000 feet from 69 as defined by the ordinance. So the nearest building will be approximately.
When you said 20 vehicles in and out, are you intending that every day or just I think at the Senate meeting we talked about during snowstorms would be the big traffic. Is that something daily occurrence or just during?
That's what the vehicles. 3 or 4 per day. Like snow storage.
And 20 total trips, when you say traffic studies, they count, if a person shows up. So it counts coming, so a person coming to the site. That's why we came up with the survey cost.
Will there be any fuel stored on site?
No.
How about maintenance repairs?
Well, separate.
For maintenance and repairs?
The lift is really expensive. And I'm not moving.
With regard to the lighting, I think at one time it might have said that they were gonna be motion sensor. Has that changed at all?
I'm up to whatever you guys want me to do. You know, easy going. John Paul said the motion lights, whatever you guys suggest.
And I believe the light fixtures that we specified, they can be configured with motion sensing manual light switch.
Mhm.
And the photometrics presented them change depending on whatever.
Is the residence still providing?
The residents not familiar.
Okay, and is that an independent lot?
So it is, they currently exist as 2 lots. The lot line revision would just be redrawing the lot line between the 2 properties that are both owned by the applicant. So that would be administratively approvable, as well as the site plan itself for the residential would just require administrative approval, which is why we haven't really touched too much on that in the process. This application, it's included in the set, because for wetlands, we needed to apply for both because there was activity in the upland V area for the residential property. But in terms of zoning approval, single family residence can be administrative, but it's not there yet. The intention is once the lot line revision is filed, then the applicant, as the applicant's son, would be the owner of the house to go forward.
In my mind, I'm just thinking of if the properties were sold at a future date, the proximity to business is extremely close, so if they're not sold as one unit, there may be disputes in the future.
That would be up to that buyer.
Yeah.
Buyer beware.
And that is why, even though both properties are owned by the applicant, we did make sure on sheet C9. We ensured that for that exact purpose, the requirements for buffer yards are met even to the adjoining residential. So it is in full compliance with the requirements for landscape screening for denied use adjoining residents.
I noticed the previous discussion that there were a butter letter sent out. And it bordered water company property. Was there a response from Connecticut Water?
Yeah, we provided notification. I believe they did respond with no impact, and I think it was submitted to the record in the last meeting, but I can. But yes, notification was done as part of the wetlands process. If that was not carried forward, we changed the record to make sure it's.
It'd be good to see.
Now, I also know we received, I think between last meeting and this meeting, Bethany, I think Conservation Commission, there was a request or a note about leaving back piece of the property undeveloped to help with wildlife moving around. But it sounds like from your site plan, you are not clearing all the way to the back.
Yeah, and then there's so, like, wetlands back there, so you can't really get back there anyway.
I'm just making, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a request that came in, but perhaps that's a non-issue because it sounds like your plan might satisfy that request.
It does. So we were forwarded that yesterday. We had a brief chance to review. The request, I believe, was for an easement to be given. The applicant is not willing to encumber their property with an easement at this time. Nor is there any open space provisions and regulations to require open space for a site plan application on private property. That being said, we do have, again, there's 521 feet from the back of the building to the property line. I didn't scale it, but if you look at the clearing limits, you still have well over 450 feet from the proposed limit of disturbance to the back of the property. So in the current proposal, the requested non-disturbance limits have basically been met, and there should be no issue with preserving space back there.
Luke, with the current trees and the proposed landscaping, is it your understanding that you won't be able to see either of these buildings from the road? From either road?
I wouldn't want to make that, you know, in the winter, you might be able to see. In the summer, our hope is that by preserving as much of the mature forest as possible, it will achieve better screening than we could plant. So, and I think that's why the regulations make provisions for encroaching protection of forest wherever possible in lieu of artificial landscaping. Because when you plant landscaping, you know, you plant them at 8 feet, but it can take 15 years before they're fully established. So that's why we're proposing to keep as much of the existing forest as possible to provide this screening.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, as the opinion's short, I said only read a couple sections of it. I just asked the commission review it substantively about less than please, but take note of the footnotes, please. There's 3 cases that are cited that are Connecticut appellate and Supreme Court cases, so we want to provide permission with authority. That's there. There are 7 cases. So we do appreciate your time.
If we have no other questions, I'll take public questions and comments.
Hi, I'm Irma Neffen, 50 Oak Ridge Drive. I have a very basic question. This land is zoned R65, acre and a half residential. I've been following it for years, realtor, and when did it become BNI? It is R65. I pulled the information from Bethany tax record.
Hiram,
So I'm not gonna answer that question at this point.
If I could, Madam Chair.
Oh.
The 195 Chester Road piece is R65.
Please, she can hear you. You can't hear you.
Turn around.
I'd like the commission to be able to see it as well, but if the commission goes to sheet C1, which you should have, the 195 Cheshire Road piece is BNI, or is R65. 211 Cheshire Road, as it's currently configured, has part in the BNI zone, part in the R65
No,
zone.
according to the town record, they are both R65. Before the present owner bought it, I was following it when the last owner had it, wondering what they were gonna do with it. It's been R60.
Madam Chair, if I could, I was saying, we did come in, I believe it was in August or September, when the applicant was considering purchasing this property with this map and received a clarification from the zoning commission that the boundary line as we show it is correct. I can't speak to the veracity and accuracy of the field cards, but there is a zoning map of the town of Bethany that is on the website that governs zoning. Field cards do not govern zoning, the zoning map does. And it was the determination of the commission that the line as we show it, which shows the entire portion of the piece that is proposed to be commercially developed, is in the BNI.
You already said on lot number 195 is residential,
And no,
and yet you said it was B&I.
195 is R 65. 211 is BNI. The 195 is where the residential development is proposed, and 211 is where the BNI. So all proposals as shown in this application are consistent with the zones that we share.
And I do recall something before us before where we had established that line. And so just to be clear, this commercial or BNI endeavor is within the BNI zone of this larger property that the gentleman purchased.
That's correct. So that's the intention of sheet C2, which is the south meeting. But is the intent of the applicant to avoid any future confusion like this, to redraw the property line, keeping, they currently have 2 properties, the end result will be 2 properties, but giving the land, the R65 zone land of 211 Cheshire Road to 195. So the end result and the line that we show on the site plans is this line, where the western line up to 11 Cheshire Road is the BNI zone. So the entirety of the property that is proposed for commercial development is in the BNI zone.
Within, and a setback then
That's
with
correct.
respect to the BNI zone
That's
boundary.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Carol Lambier, 7 Carrington Road. I'm the president of the Bethany Land Trust. We're here to support the request that the applicant set aside a portion of the property with conservation easement. We preserve over 700 acres in Bethany, and we have an 8-acre conduit reserve, also in Cheshire, very close to this property. Conduit reserve, very densely wooded area, wetland provides critical habitat. There are already several businesses in the area. Our preserve is part of a much larger wildlife and it's critical for our preservation efforts to maintain forest. I appreciate what has been voiced as an effort to maintain as much woodland as possible. Conservation easement would basically establish that so that if there's another owner, we don't have to worry about it. We hope that the applicant will consider that. This is an area that borders 3 towns, and all 3 are interested in efforts to be
Can I ask a question? Do you have a specific map or line proposal that you're asking the applicant?
I guess I understand that.
I have a few things. I have everything. First I have.
Sir, could you introduce yourself?
Bruce Loomis, 11 Sabina Drive. I had submitted 2 letters, one dated 12/6/25, one dated 1/1/26. And I didn't see them listed in your correspondence. Do you have them in your
Yes,
packets?
yes, they were in,
Okay.
yeah, we get a
Those have
digital
very
pack.
s- Had some very specific comments about this. But before I address that open space, I want to address the fact that Bethany's land review process is broken. This is a fully wooded, large piece of property. I don't think anybody in this room could remember anything ever happening on that property since we've been in Bethany. Yet it did not go to the Conservation Commission for review. And I did some checking when I found that out and find that no land use project or application in Bethany has been going to the Conservation Commission. This is absolutely wrong. It's a disservice to the people of Bethany. Why do we have a Conservation Commission if we're not going to use it and let them review projects, especially a project like this one? That's being said, to get back to what Carol said,
Can I just say something to your point so that I can just make this clear? With respect to our established processes in town, there is nothing, we're not in violation of any process, right? Because there is nothing, I don't believe there's anything.
I'm not talking about statutes or legality, I'm talking about, we have a conservation commission, which is there for a reason. They're supposed to be advisory to the planning and zoning. And it used to be practice for them to get a set of plans, and at the same time, the inland wetlands and planning and zoning got it. They could review it and then pass on comments to you. This is not happening. Why, we might as well just disband the conservation commission, not worry about what we're doing to the environment, because they may have a totally different outlook than you have.
I understand you.
Right? That's something.
You're gonna listen to me. We're gonna stop right now because I have a question. I want to know right now that we are in compliance with the law, the regulations right now in terms of reviewing this application. Now, if something can be fixed or improved in the town, we may not have the ability to do that. That might be a town meeting. We don't have a chart. It might be a town meeting, and that's fine. But I want to know right now that we are in compliance with reviewing this and possibly deciding on this evening. And I believe we are.
From a legal point of view, I suspect you are in compliance, but I think from a town benefit point of view, this process needs to be reviewed and fixed. I have spent 20 years on the Conservation Commission, and we always used to get a set of plans, and we used to submit plans to planning and zoning. All of a sudden, apparently it's not happening. And I've checked back quite a number of applications, and there's no record anywhere that conservation ever got one. That can be worked on outside of this. I just think it needs to be worked on because we have a conservation commission. Their job is to protect the residents of Bethany and its open space and its open land. And that's not happening. They're not getting used to their potential.
I will agree with you in that point, and I, as a resident of Bethany, I would encourage everybody in this room, if that needs to happen, I don't think it's something that we unilaterally do, but if the residents of Bethany want that to become part of a legal process, we can discuss that, and that might be an actual town matter. Do you want to continue or?
Yes,
before?
I'll go to a preliminary.
Okay.
Now to the actual application itself. And the reason it's so important that it get reviewed environmentally. This is not just a little piece of property all by itself. This is actually a key gateway for a huge greenway and wildlife corridor that extends from Naugatuck through Prospect into Bethany, over onto the water company property there, down into Hamden and Cheshire. It's almost 2,000 acres of continuous land, all protected with the exception of two lots, which are 211 Cheshire Road and 790 Carrington Road. Right now, we have what is probably minimum of 80 years of undisturbed natural woodland for our wildlife to travel all the way from Naugatuck to Hamden and Cheshire. And that includes Naugatuck State Forest and Brooksville Park and Hamden and all those places. So if we don't carefully review this property and make the right decisions, we could completely cut off the wildlife. Because these two lots that are privately owned are an absolute unique gateway. They happen to be the only link between the northwestern part of the greenway and the southeastern part of the greenway with a totally uninterrupted crossing from one to the other. No buildings, no fences, no guardrail, nothing interrupted. So we have to keep a passage through this property. Therefore, in my second letter, I made a very specific recommendation for a conservation easement across the north part of both newly established lots. Currently, it will all be 211, but it will be, one of these are reconfigured across 211 and 195. And most of that will be bordering on Connecticut water land that then connects up into the Prospect section. And the landowner, there's no public access required, no trail easements required. Landowner would still have use of the property, but not be allowed to do any clearing or cutting or anything that would disturb the flow of wildlife. All we're asking is to keep a wildlife corridor going. And the decisions that are made on this property, this application, are gonna drastically affect what can be done with 795 Carrington in the future. So it's very important to balance that. If you shut this one off, then 795 is gonna eventually get shut off, and we're gonna completely lose our corridor. I think wildlife is very important, and we need to protect our wildlife. I would also like to see an environmental impact study done on this before any decision is made. But we don't know what's in there. I say, I've been in Bethany for over 50 years, and nothing has ever been done in there, so there could be any kind of wildlife, any kind of vegetation. There'd be a lot of important things in there that we could be disturbing if this is developed incorrectly. So I think this would be important to do in my view. And one other thing I just want to mention is, since this also involves 195, that there is a old stone foundation which is identified on the plan that says it's going to remain. I would just like to say that that is possibly an archaeological site of Bethany's colonial era, and maybe should be investigated from an archaeological point of view, and also flagged as something that should not be allowed to be disturbed. And it would be nice if the property owner eventually would clean up any debris and growth around it and kind of highlight it so people passing by can really see that foundation, which is really, I think, very attractive and very rural looking, and you see the history of Bethany there. So I think that should be protected also.
Wilderness and the Oak Drive. Where in the records show B&I never?
There's the current map.
Not on the field part, but it's on the zoning map.
Yeah, GIS zoning map.
What's map
Make
number
the
is it?
zoning.
With the state, with the, this, with the
It-
GIS.
Bethany, I didn't know, I Googled and it came up.
Yeah, I think,
How is it that the text?
Doesn't matter.
records Show only 160.
Different department. Map.
You did the map?
And if I could, Madam Chair, the specific line, 1,000 feet from the center line of 69, that is explicitly spelled out in the appendices of the zoning regulations. I believe that line specifically was clarified by a prior commission and has since been incorporated into the zoning map, and that was the conclusion as well of the town planner and of the commission when we brought it in here midway. I don't remember the exact one, but at some point in 2020, there was discussion and agreement on what the line.
that I remember.
The map was created July of '98, dated in July of 2001.
Okay, all right.
And it is the one that's available at the town website. Planning and
Yeah, I can, yeah, I was on the GIS before.
Suggestion. The question's been raised, the question is by the applicant prior to the commission making this decision, if you want further review of that prior to making a motion, one way or the other. You could make that step.
But I think,
Well, to satisfy the.
yeah, I was
like,
gonna
it
say,
is
the
in
map
It is in
it's
the
being-
BNI.
I would submit into the record that that was done when we came in, I believe it was August.
I agree.
So I personally don't think there's any more clarification necessary. It's why we came to previously.
yeah, I recall that,
Yeah.
the discussion of that boundary and our acceptance of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Yes.
Is that what you can move?
No.
No, I think the line was there, right? We haven't
mean-
changed the BNI. I think it was
No,
the
there was-
discussion.
There was no zone change associated with this, merely a clarification so that the applicant knew what extent of the property was developable as BNI. There was no, this has been BNI for at least over 20 years, so negative clarification.
Thank you.
52, so 70 years in BNI.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
to be clear again, there's no there's no change of use with this. There's no change of anything. Everything is generally compliant, I'd say, right? There's no request for a variance of any type in here.
That's not the application.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear, that it's all within the existing regulation.
Correct.
You're not asking for a
Correct.
variance
It's
of
a
any.
site plan application.
Yeah.
For BNI.
I may go to, the entire reason my legal opinion is focused on that one issue is because this application is limited to just that. That's why that's why you don't have a 20-page opinion, you have a half a page.
How much, from this site to the east? Do you know how far it is to the next structure?
By structure meaning residential dwelling?
Yes.
Yes, that's what committed here. I believe condition number should have an 11/17. That's what was submitted here, so, yeah, to the nearest, non-applicant owned residential dwelling, it's approximately 1,100.
Additional questions? Yes, ma'am?
And Klatskin 34 Bridge. I had a couple of questions. One is, if this is just snow plows, that means that the only time there's activity is what, November to March? Summer times it won't be in spring.
No, with our water valves and everything.
I'm sorry.
Sewer water division. Also, so the gate valves and all that stuff, we need them, we go over there.
The second question is, I don't have an opportunity with, can't fit in here, so. Do these buildings and the parking lot and all of that take up the full industrial space, non-R65 space? Or is there additional space where you might stand, come in with a request for more?
If I could speak to that. We have provided a zoning chart, sheet C4. Which is the site plan. Currently. Ground coverage is shown at 19%, where 60 is permitted, and 5.7% building coverage, where 30 is permitted.
So how much space is left over there for additional build?
There is area further up the hill. That being said, it gets quite steep up towards the top of the property. And, any further, any further activity on this site would be subject to additional review by the commission.
There's a large outcropping, on this open space. What direction is that?
I can't speak to outcropping specifically, but it does get steep and rocky to the
Yeah.
north. So again, in an attempt to minimize the amount of disturbance on the site, all of the activity has been limited to the relatively flatter portion to the south where that ridge really kicks up.
Are there wetlands to the north?
Not on 211. There are on 195. There are no wetlands to the north. So sheet C1 shows full existing condition plan. To the back. There are. This is the proposed lot line here, so there are wetlands here on 195 and here on 211. The only wetlands on 211 are.
So there's no wetlands to the north that would preclude future development.
There's not.
Could I just ask the applicant, just a follow-up question, I think, to the woman who had spoken before, just so everybody's clear. I think it's well understood that you want to store snow plows in there, but in terms of summer operation, you mentioned that there's other equipment that would be in there.
It's, when there's a water main break, we have the parts. So like, you can't really say, every day, but you could say, we were on water main breaks for 3 weeks solid. And then we haven't done one since. So. I don't know,
So does that mean, like, I can picture a snowplow, right? And I can picture, perhaps you store independent blades. I don't know if the blades always on the truck, but I imagine you would have
yeah,
blades stored somewhere. You have some equipment to maintain your
like fire
fleet.
hydrants and stuff.
Okay, so then, and I've heard that there'll be some outdoor storage area. Are there other trucks, say, not necessarily your employees, but the trucks that you own for your business that are stored in there as well?
Yes,
A few other trucks, so you have 6 bays, basically?
yeah.
Okay,
Answer your question?
so it would be like, sort of utility trucks?
Yeah.
Is that a fair,
Yeah.
fair, utility trucks in addition to snowplows?
Yes.
Okay.
Christine McAllen, as we're saying, it's emergency sewer, water, work we do with plows. So throughout the summer season, those plows, those trucks will be in the garage. We'd like to keep them inside so we can keep them for the winter. So it will be alternating, in the winter, they may be out, they're gonna be stored inside, they're gonna be taken out when it's plowed. For the water and sewer, as we get calls, we may be in there going in and grabbing parts, materials, different things, a lot of things that we may be buying, down the street in Prospect and Waterbury, we're coming in and out. It's not to be so much daily in and out, 5 trucks in, 5 trucks out. Our main business is in Prospect. This is another location that we can have that is closer to Route 63, Route 69, to go to Hamden, to go where we do a lot of our hauling is Hanford, the police barrack and that. So it's a great central location for us. So, and to house equipment throughout the winter in there to keep it. So it's out of the elements.
Which makes sense to me, that if you had expensive equipment, it would be preferable to store it inside. In terms of your outdoor storage area, I've heard mention of like pipes, valves, et cetera. Is that what you intend to store outside, or would you put
Yes,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
just can't rust. Concrete pipe.
Okay, concrete pipe, understood, okay, so concrete pipe, concrete,
And then the one thing that someone mentioned about the vault in the front, you do need to have room for turning.
Mhm.
And as these trucks, will come in, if that piping's gotta come in and it's gotta be on a little bit of a longer trailer, we've gotta be able to have room to be able to make the swings and safely get in, and mainly safely get into our property as well as coming out. And then, they've got that distance that we need for the DOT on the driveway. But the plan is to come in, turn around into our property and drive out. So this way, we're not backing out into the street. It's doing everything in there so that bigger asphalt area is full as well as to have turn space.
yes.
And Platskin, third floor Oak Ridge again. Has anybody looked at the poor dogs at Keystone tend to get a bit wild up? And how much noise is gonna be from this property, not Keystone, that's right. If there's trucks coming in and out at 3 o'clock in the morning, are those dogs gonna be going and putting this bothering the first? Has anybody looked at that?
If I could, Madam Chair, again, the property that's being referenced is the property that's being referenced is approximately here. I assume everyone in town knows. The kennels are right up against Route 42. approximately 20 feet from what we scaled from the GIS. Meanwhile, this property would be, any activity here, whether it's the late onion or the buildings, would be over 400 feet away. So our, certainly it would blend into the ambient noise of Route 42 that would already be impacted.
Amy Rushlow, 160 Miller Road. I just had a question. You made reference to your main building business is in Prospect. So with all of the vehicles that would be storing here, are they gonna be registered to Bethany so that the tax revenue for the vehicles is in Bethany and not in Prospect?
That's the law.
I'm Linda Fay, I live at 171 Cheshire Road. We share the property line on the west side of the proposed project. I have great respect for the board and the work that you're doing on our behalf. The front page of the Bethany website states, Bethany, Connecticut, rural is beautiful. Indeed. Our beautiful countryside is of great importance to its residents and one of the main reasons my family will purchase here. I have several concerns. Number one, I visited TXC Properties LLC at the McAllen construction site 5 miles away at 141 Progress Lane in Waterbury, where I observed 2 large warehouses surrounded by upwards of 15 vehicles, including a very large dump truck, backhoes, a half dozen very long trailers, some loaded with heavy equipment. Their website states that they are a fast-growing and multifaceted company operating 24/7 emergency services. My first questions, what measures can be taken to ensure facets of the existing business do not expand to the new location at 211 Cheshire Road? I'm also curious to know if we've conducted studies to determine the effects of the following items. Number one, public safety and community impact. I have significant safety concerns regarding the commingling of heavy industrial machinery and high volume construction vehicles with an active school transport zone. Cheshire Road is especially busy during peak hours, and this road serves as a primary school bus route with my grandchildren's bus stop located near the entrance to the proposed site. It creates an unacceptable risk of collision and limits the clear zone children need for wait safely for the bus. I'm also concerned about the local impact on traffic due to the influx of slow-moving industrial equipment and worry that this emergency response times. Also, there's a dangerous curve on this stretch of road, and we personally witnessed several accidents requiring emergency services and resulting in injuries. Number two, noise pollution. Plowing is a 24/7 operation, and the company budgeted 24/7 emergency services as well. Will the operation of heavy equipment between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. be compliant with section 8.7 of the Bethany zoning regulations, or will it exceed our noise ordinance? Concern number 3 is air pollution from gas and diesel emissions. Number 4, vibrational impact on residential foundations caused by large equipment creating ground vibration. Number 5, vegetative screening or sound barriers. Have we determined the need for significant setbacks and installation of fast branches and shrubs to provide a barrier to limit the sights and sounds of commercial activity? Number 6, this is the last one. Tax revenue and loss. Do we know the amount of tax revenue this commercial property would generate? And if the revenue is offset by decreased property values in a surrounding area? I'm concerned that this industrial activity will result in sustained diminished property values, effectively eroding the home equity residents have spent decades building. In closing, as stated by our first selectman and Google, Bethany is known for its rural character. Preserving our rural characters is of critical importance for our residents, and we must exercise extreme caution when evaluating commercial proposals. Decisions of this magnitude are irreversible. If we prioritize short-term commercial activity over our rural landscape, we risk a permanent transformation that can never be undone. Thank you for your attention.
any other questions or comments?
Comment 151 question. I have some questions. Both maybe you can help me out here. You have to address the chair, I think it's fine.
All right, and on this site map, I don't understand the housing in the order in the back. Maybe you can explain the housing on that map.
Okay, so, I think that was your overlay where you had superimposed the two buildings.
So, this is the whole. This is, I believe that's the water company property. That's 119, 151, 146. Okay, so 119.
That's it.
So, if there's a house here, there's no home here. This was taken from the class, I can't state. There is another house that abuts that property straight on, so it would be right here. I believe you. All I can say is that this information was taken from the town GIS at the time of the most recent.
It's not correct. So, what we're gonna put houses closer to that property, right up against it, actually.
The question is also done by.
And that person is out of the country right now. One of the country.
Are you saying the house is in the wrong spot on the map, or
No,
you're saying there's two buildings on that one lot?
No, there's another house on that one,
Another house.
another house.
But owned by you.
No, they're owned by two separate people. There is another house,
Subdivided or?
you know, I never,
153. I think it's 119 and 153. They share a driveway, so that'd be,
153.
uh,
I believe it's
What is the map? say?
119 and then.
Okay,
the current Google map
the GI,
of GI.
If I could, Madam Chair, even if we can see that there is another house there, which I would like to independently verify prior to, the point still remains that to any residential property, I'll say conservatively 900 feet, screened by dense, so, I mean, really, the proximity to residential is not even a consideration, in the commission's discretion when it comes to a site plan approval. We presented this more as a response to the concerns raised by the neighbors. So even assuming another house here, we'd still have over 900 feet densely screened.
well, and it's you're still within all the required setbacks,
100%.
whether the house, yes, it's within the setback of the
I
boundary.
do think the map should be corrected.
I guess my question is, there's no density.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Sandy Conlon, 150.
Okay.
This, you're saying there's no density this time of year, so once you're, there's no density once the leaves are off the tree through May or March. So everything is out in the open and you're seeing that. There's no protection. So even, we live up on the hill on 151, we're parking the road and we can still hear the noise from the back. Or even the dogs barking and they're down the road, so we can still hear that.
Kathy Ellison on that 98.
Oh, I'm sorry, were you,
Let her go now.
okay.
I just have a question regarding this map here with the two proposed buildings on it. My understanding from earlier comments are that the lot lines are proposed to be different with the changes regarding the B&I, where the buildings are to be constructed. Is that area that jumps off to the left going to be part of 195, or is it part of 211?
Should you help her?
Yeah, I think I understood what she was asking. This entire area over here, the houses we were just discussing, 151, 119 Cheshire Road, over here. This entire piece of property, which is in the R65 zone, is proposed to be transferred to 195 Cheshire Road, keeping the consistency of residential and B&I zoning.
Which
So
is,
there-
can I interject, which is currently owned by the applicant?
Both properties are currently in Maria. That's correct. So there would be, this is 500 feet of property separating the commercial property from the residential.
So with that change, then the map on the other page would really be different with those?
No,
two?
it's, I think the map that had been, the colored map, this would be rotated a little bit if they were aligned.
So in other words, can you please outline where the boundaries will now be?
If we orient it the same way that it is in Whoopi, the proposed boundary would be here.
Right, okay. And you were saying also, I'm sorry to ask another question, but you were saying that the coverage is up to 30% allowed, and you're right now using only 15%?
I believe it was 6% of building coverage and 15% of lot coverage.
So theoretically, you could go more.
He's not, this request, he is bound by what he requests. But the chart that shows compliance relative to the town maximum, he's showing he's compliant with that, he's under, but he cannot, no applicant could come and change what is to be built without coming back to the commission.
The regulations say that he can go further given the coverage of the buffer.
It's possible, but he would have to come back and there would be another submission of a site plan, and this entire process would start again for a potential next permit.
And one final question, regarding blasting, in order to clear, has there been any proposed requirement for blasting?
Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, if I could speak to that. That was what we alluded to earlier when we were addressing the board, that the property does get quite steep and rocky towards the north part of the property, which is why all disturbance has been kept to the south side of the property. Test pits have been performed. Ledge was not encountered in the area that the applicant is currently proposing to develop.
We building on slab.
The RS is correct.
Say from the house.
There's no house. We're not considering any house right now. The only thing that's in front of the commission right now are the two buildings there.
My question is,
I just want to respect,
Oh, I'm
you had
sorry.
nothing else to
No, I
say, sir?
So-
Oh,
Why don't we stay on you?
I don't know if the town, I was on planning and zoning so long ago, I might be, but not at that time. But, back then, was there any, regulations against 24-hour services?
I don't believe so.
I mean, I know we've
Yeah,
restricted
I know.
outside businesses that are before.
Mhm.
I was just curious.
No, I don't think there is right now.
You know, as a condition of approval, we can limit, when that business would operate. If we so desire.
Well, you really can't, because if there's a snowstorm, they have to come in.
But in general, we can put that condition on it.
And also, they have for outside storage, they said cement pipes, but also what is listed is, sand and processed material. It's on the application. You ask them, or cement before they say no, it is on the application.
Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I thought you meant sand and salt. Yeah, bedding, sand, pipe.
Okay, so,
What is process? Process is crushed up stone. Okay, is there anything that could leak into the water system to contaminate wells? that are in the area.
So I think inland wetlands has reviewed your application and accepted it.
Now, my other question is, why, I got a lot of, you know, why 10,000 square foot buildings are not 20,000 square foot?
I don't honestly know if that's a
Maybe is one gonna be leased out? Actually, Madam Chair, Is one's gonna be leased out?
Okay.
You know, what's,
okay, well, then why don't you continue
what
with
the
your
reason is
questions?
too. And, what's on the application, it says, you know, we're gonna have 4 to 6 employees every day. And 2 to 3 work trucks coming in and out every day. Is that something that we could count? Or if it gets larger, is it gonna be 15 trucks every day coming in there at night?
I was gonna keep noting your question.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I got the line. In the back store. I thought I read it when I was looking at the maps, that they weren't gonna move the border lines, or erase the border line. I might have read it wrong.
Does it-
Kind of small. From the house to the business, they changed the border line to the.
Let me clarify something we are not changing a boundary line. Yeah, there's no change of, there's no variance, there was a clarification. That line between the BNI zone and the R65 has been there. There's no request to change that. And this request is completely within BNI.
I thought I saw maps that said they're gonna raise them. So it's gonna stay 2 separate properties.
It will, what's before us right now will remain within BNI. The gentleman, the applicant owns more land that was originally in one large parcel that crossed residential to BNI. He's not moving no one is moving an established boundary between BNI and residential.
Okay, so no property lines would be,
If I could clarify, the zone line, there's no proposed amendment to the zoning. There is a proposed lot line amendment. However, it is between 2 properties owned by the applicant. Will end with both properties being fully compliant and can be done administratively. So that is not in front of the commission here. It is included in the set for clarity because we are using the future boundary lines to avoid any sort of confusion in regards to setbacks. So to demonstrate that the BNI proposal is fully compliant with setbacks to the BNI line, we have included this lot line revision map. This map is not in front of the commission per se, because the lot line revision between 2 properties owned by 1 person is an administrative procedure.
no, that there is, in the last meeting, John Paul had stated that the foundation. There is one there. Want to clarify that.
That's it.
If I could just on that last comment, the foundation would be what kind of minor pack reference in regards to the proposed commercial buildings of the slab upgrades with them. That is an accurate statement.
No, the whole foundation, if existing.
Is that,
Not-
but
not
that's on
to-
195.
not to-
yes, that's that's in the R, the residential area, which is not in front of us right now. Okay, did you want to make this?
At this point, let's let public comment go. And
Okay.
if they summarize it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions, comments?
Mark Schneider, 32 Sabri Drive. So so I just have a few questions. And, you know, I'm not sure what Robert's rule of order is. Maybe maybe want to make sure I follow that. But so I do think some of the concerns that were voiced by members here are valid. You know, I do want to thank the commission for taking time out of your schedule, and I think no one means no disrespect to the business owners too. Being a business person myself, like, you know, you're just trying to run a business, so we totally get it. But I do think that, you know, there should be some understanding that potentially there should be some consideration from the board. These folks are right. I live on Sabrina Drive. I can see right through. I can hear dogs barking. You can hear and see through everything. So although this is fair to suggesting, well, 400 feet is very close. 1,000 feet is pretty close in the winter. You can see and hear, you know, right through it. I also want to say administratively, last meeting, you know, there was a concern that we didn't have access to public records. In this case, we did, but there was also a mention that whoever was your compliance person, you know, that, well, until there was a zoning officer, it would be withheld, any decision would be withheld until there's a zoning officer. I guess there's an interim. I know he's shaking his head, but I heard otherwise, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge you on that one. I don't think the lack of a CEO would restrict the commission from making a decision on something in front of it.
However, that was not the comment by the individual. So select the notes and take a look at the video that said different. So if you want to look from a regulatory perspective.
Yeah, I have the minutes. I looked through the minutes, but. Okay.
I have to take a look. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. I also wouldn't be intimidated by the attorney. I know he's suggesting that there could be some repercussions if you're not following protocol staff. I think it was a little bit beyond that. So, for example, there were some suggestions of environmental concerns that I think could be valid. Some studies could be done. I can tell you, I live right there, and you can see that street is busy at 5 o'clock back all the way, like halfway through 42. And as a first responder, I've seen triple mass fatalities in that area. That could be your kids, you know. So I'm just saying there might be some consideration. This was fair and suggested that, well, it's not a requirement. It could be a strong recommendation from the board. So I'm just thinking, think about each of you. If this was in your backyard, we're talking about 10,000 foot structures. We're talking about large commercial equipment going in. We're talking about school children living all a very quiet residential. So there's a lot of considerations in it. You know, I'm just saying I would take a closer look at it, not be intimidated by some of the presentations or be swayed just that, you know, that you need to make a decision tonight. Because there's a lot of people that are concerned. And again, no disrespect to, you know, maybe ultimately it does become that, but I just think to satisfy the town concerns, and again, if it was in your backyard, you might want to give it future consideration.
Any other questions?
Yes, actually, I'm at Snow 54 Lacy Road. I agree with you, because really, like 63, 69 are really long roads, and you have a lot of industry there. But 42, it's like, you know, I describe Bethany as the H. You know, we have the 2, 63 and 69 roads, then we have a really short 42. And I notice the traffic is getting more backed up. Take a left, you're going 42 east, and you're trying to take a left on a 69 north. That traffic from Churchill's coming through, like there probably should be like a green arrow for us going left, but that's not happening yet. And I could really see the traffic even backing up more. And yeah, now like with EMS, that's gonna be a nightmare.
There's
Okay, yeah, I got that. Okay, and anything else you'd like to add? Okay, thank you. I have a comment in the back.
Just wanted to say,
You just introduce yourself one more time for the record, even though we know who you are. Just say your name again.
it's not me. Say who you are. Herman Nelson. Just like I think the thing to do in agreement that 195 is R65. Why is that even up for discussion? It's residential.
It's not, we're not discussing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and correct, we're not discussing 195, we're discussing 211.
But there's two buildings and one was for one lot?
No, they're both on 211.
Well, then it's even easier. 195 is R65.
Yes, and it will remain R65.
Right.
So I think there's some. The only activity in front of us this evening are two buildings in a BNI zone. which is 211, respecting the existing boundary between BNI and residential. And the applicant, there is no required variance for anything. Just lay that down. Hopefully it helps. Sir, I haven't heard from you.
I think it's only 350. It's just my understanding that 195 is residential. I don't know. From the GIS. Yeah. So it's already, that's like not really up for discussion. It's just before this meeting, that's verified.
Yes,
And that Lena was zoning board did verify that. My understanding, you did 59.
that, the border, as you see outlined there, has not changed between BNI.
Yes.
And
it's like
residential.
98, right?
It's 211 and 195.
Yeah, 1998 a year.
Yeah, I think you,
Drawn up, it hasn't changed since then. 195 is residential, they're not gonna change that.
Why doesn't the tax record reflect that?
so I can't.
Based on Bethany tax. Yeah, I don't know. That's a deep-
Well, I don't wanna,
I agree. A lot of times things done based on the fact that it says different than GIS. GIS is, just trying to understand. Sounds like.
there's an, just for everybody's benefit, there is an application to build 2 buildings for a business in a BNI zone. There is no request to change there is no request for a variance whatsoever in front of us.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna thought, thank you for coming.
First, we want this. You say it's only 211 and 2 buildings, however, the application also wants to reconfigure lots and transfer property to 195, right?
That
That's
is
part of the consideration.
not in front of us at this moment. I think you, as a courtesy, put in front of the commission what you want to do with the entirety of what is owned by the applicant. But what is only in front of us this evening is to put 2 buildings within 211.
So if this gets approved, 211 will still have that big shaded area as part of 211.
Until the lot line revision map would be filed, but the intention would be to file the lot line revision map as soon as the application.
Which you
as soon as it's
mentioned,
approved.
because it's all within one applicant, it's an administrative change that does not need to come.
And so the
The
fact,
application, the issue tonight is the old 211 property, no consideration for the reconfigured 190.
It's with, he's going to place the buildings with respect to the BNI boundary. That's what will become the boundary between 211 and 195 in the future.
But that shaded area will still remain as part of 211.
Until, I guess, the administrative application
At
goes
a
through.
later date. And the conservation easement that we recommend would be across the entire 211 property as it stands.
If he accepts it.
Well, if approved, I'm just saying that instead of being 2 separate properties, it would be on one.
But I'm just gonna say with respect to what I think you're requesting or would like to see, ultimately, it would be across 195 and 211 when the dust settles, so to speak.
But that part's gonna remain 211.
It won't,
Really part of the consideration.
I'm not sure this is, I don't think it's,
See in the future.
yeah, it's,
We just try, we have to work on what, there were some courtesies done that I think are confusing people. Getting misconstrued between the 2 property lines. So,
But changing the property line is not part of the current application.
nope.
he's placing 2 buildings with respect to a BNI border.
if I could just, hopefully we can put this to bed. I think a lot of times being raised that for the purposes of this application, all intents and purposes, the set could begin at sheet C4. However, if we had submitted sheet C4 without including the lot line revision map, what we currently show as the property line would not be the current property line, it would be the B&I zone, which for all intents and purposes for this application would be the property line because commercial activity cannot exist in an R65 zone by variance. The applicant does not want to keep R65 land as part of a commercial property because it's undevelopable, which is why this line is proposed for the B&I to match the B&I. It's extremely irregular that you have a property that straddles the zone line, which is why we are making steps to rectify that as part of this application. I apologize if that's caused any confusion, but for the courtesies given to the commission, we thought it told a good tale to show the map is perfect. What is in front of the commission is a site plan application for the B&I property at 211 Cheshire, shown here on sheet C4 and forward set. No one is disputing that 195 is residential. There's no intention for commercial development on 195 or land that is shown to be currently R65 as part of 211 Cheshire.
Thank you. There's just two more. I am kind of, I want everybody to feel like they had an opportunity to speak, but we have another public hearing after that. I haven't heard from you, so.
I have a question for who are you? My name is Robert Bola, 88 Cheshire Road. We heard the intention for this piece of property. In the future, when it's sold, if the intention changes, even minor, they have to come back to this board and go through the review process over again.
If significant changes are requested by the new owner, they would have to come back. We approve what is laid out before us in the plan and the intent. And that's what we're approving. So if the business is sold or the property sold and somebody wants to raise one of them or build a third, that has to come back before the commission.
Can they store different equipment? Can they store different things outside without coming back to the commission?
I would say there's probably some flexibility with regard to what is approved.
Okay, so the board really has to take into account what is the very worst case, the sold. You say only if it's significant. I think you have to take into account all the other possibilities that might fall just below that order.
Well, we cannot take into account what would happen post-sale. That would be another application coming in front. We could, if that were the case, if you were gonna build on your property, and you wanted to put a lovely colonial home, I would then have the ability to say, I'm gonna challenge that and say that, well, what happens if the next buyer of your property wants to put some awful, envision whatever architecture you don't like, right? So we can only act on what's in front of us.
I think the intent of the question is just to get a scope or understanding how far this can go without having to get re-approval plans or what more can be stored here, what more can activities can take place here without having the board get involved. I'm just trying to get a scope of what could be the worst case.
So, and Hiram, I'm gonna ask you to jump in if I go off track, but I'm gonna say what is presented in front of us is what we will be voting on. There is obviously a reasonable tolerance. Otherwise, we would have reams and reams of paper, and people would have very little potential movement in their lives, right? But after some amount, and it might be subjective to different people, and it might even be something legal, and that's why we pay lawyers, right? But could he change and say, listen, I'm going to store food? That would be a change. Am I?
The use changes significantly, and that's the back of the commission. That would be a determination that the commission would make. If somebody came in, a new owner came in and said, I want to store street sweepers there, as opposed to snowplows. Are those the same? Same. So the new use would be assessed by the commission as to whether it's an application or not.
Thank you.
Okay, then I think there was one, I'm just gonna try and wrap this up after these two questions or comments.
Yes, Kathy Ellison, 98 Cheshire Road. Given the discussion around the fact that there is a significant portion of 211 that we're saying in this meeting is not going to be part of this, why would it not be possible for the zoning board to make a recommendation to the current owners that they go to the zoning board and ask for those lot lines to be changed prior to making a decision, so that it's clear to the rest of the folks in this area that what is R65 could not be part of the approval that is granted in this effort.
You want to speak to that?
Sure. The only thing that the commission is being asked to approve, and there's no determination yet whether it's approved or not, is exactly what's shown on the plan in front of you in the B&I zone. There's no proposal to do anything in the R65 property.
But we're saying that the boundaries,
Don't worry about the boundaries.
so
Okay.
that
The
they,
only the B&I zone is what's being asked of the commission. And that's the only thing that could be approved. If it was not.
but right now, 211 includes all of that R65.
It does, but that's just a zone line. And so what the applicant had previously said was that they decide to revise the lot line, that's an administrative action, doesn't require the commission's activity. But the commission, and doesn't need to be involved in the include there. There's no activity as part of this application that's part of any R65 law.
And it also has been said by the architect or the engineer firm that this is highly unusual, that it is R65 and BNI on the same lot. So my question really still stands, like, why doesn't the zoning board request that the owner modify the lot lines first so that it's clear to everyone, and then make the request for the BNI improvement?
So, I can speak for myself. I understand what's in front of me. I think it was a courtesy to describe what your future plan is. It helped me understand it. I can say I'm comfortable, at least in terms of what he's asking, and it sounds like even the change is administrative, doesn't even have to come before us. You would want, and then I'm gonna cut off the questions.
It's just a quick comment. Ann Clonskin, 34 Hillbridge. I was just going to echo what was said about traffic. It's difficult on 69 making a turn on 42, but in recent years, trying to come out of either a bridge or North Kingston, these are really, really hard. Times that I sit there in the morning, I can't count the rest.
With that, I think we will end the public comment.
If I could, Madam Chair, could I just go back to something?
Sure.
The response, so in regards to the two buildings, that was a comment that is very easy to address. The two buildings are proposed as an attempt to get the development to blend better into the existing contours of the land. So the land slopes up from page left to page right, which is south to north. One building at a consistent floor elevation would have required more disturbance to kind of fill the bottom, fill the low ends, and dig the top ends into the hill, which was not deemed to be in the best interest of the development of the site, the environment. It allows us to, the two buildings at different floor elevations, there's approximately 4.5 feet in floor difference between the two buildings, allows the buildings to better suit the topography, allows the driveways to better suit the topography, and minimizes total site disturbance. Hours of operation, there was some discussion. Those are spelled out in the statement of use that had been provided to the commission. As the chair alluded to, that statement of use is part of any approval that would be granted for this application. And any substantial change to the hours of operation would be subject to a revised application to the board. From a traffic perspective, again, there was discussion about accidents, which is why we included the information regarding the site distance to show the site driveway at its proposed location in both directions meets the required stopping site distances for a 40-mile-an-hour road for the DOT. From an environmental perspective, we are, apologetic that the Conservation Commission did not get a chance. If that is the, intention of the town to revisit that, we certainly will comply in any future applications, but as the chair clarified, the Conservation Commission does not have jurisdiction over site plan applications on private property. They do have jurisdiction over subdivision applications, which is why in subdivision applications, we had one last year that did get referred to the Conservation Commission. There were recommendations in terms of open space. That's not a procedure that's in place for a site plan application on a private piece of property. Finally, in regards to the environmental, even without the Conservation Commission's comment, we do believe we've designed an environmentally conscious use for this property. The site is developed well under what would be permitted. Again, 6% building coverage compared to 30 that's allowed, 19% lot coverage compared to 60 that would be permitted. All site disturbance was kept to the bottom of the hill to try to prevent any unnecessary land disturbance. This was reviewed and approved by the Wetlands Commission with conditions. Any development is subject to those conditions. And finally, we would just like to say, I know there was a lot of seeming confusion about BNI versus R65. This is a application of an industrial use, which is permitted in the BNI zone in the town, that is exclusively being proposed for BNI property. The residential property to the west in the future will be developed residentially as permitted by the zone. There's no intention, nor would the applicant want to propose an industrial use for the residential zone. The zones were drawn in town for a reason. In this case, this is actually a part of, even though it's on Route 69, it's part of the industrial corridor that is drawn around 69. And the zone line was clarified and agreed upon by the commission. The proposal is entirely in compliance in regards to setbacks, bulk regulations, etc. So on that, we're going to turn it back to the commission for close public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll close public comment. And folks, okay with running into opening for 65 Emerald? Okay. All right, so next public. Yeah, oh, do we need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second, okay, all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Extension? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next public hearing, this is for application 25-012, Kevin Fox, 65 Emerald Lane, R65 zone proposed. Applicant presents permit submission for plant nursery, cut and pick your own and other related activities. And I was gonna say, I want to take I just introduced it. I want to take a minute. Does anybody need a little break? Can we do a 5-minute break for folks who might need it? And then we'll introduce everybody and establish a 5-minute break. I guess you could turn it off and. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're back on. So I think we're all here. So I had just mentioned, we're beginning the public hearing for application.
They got, approved. Feedback does.
We're beginning the public hearing for application 2025-012 Kevin Cox, 65 Emerald Lane, which is within our 65. Proposal is for permit to plant a nursery, a cut and pick lawn, and other related activities. We'll go around the room in terms, and this is a continuation of a public hearing. So in attendance, again, we have Hiram Peck, Town Planner, Veronica Novak, Land Use Clerk, who is kindly assisting in lieu of our CEO. We don't have one right now. Donna Cahill, a stenographer, Brian Fournier, who is an alternate, Adam Harrington, member, Nancy Held Sheehy, member, vice chair, I say secretary, so thanks. Bob Harrison, member, Brad Gupta, alternate, and Karen Mueller, member.
I'd like to say that I recused myself on the last meeting, thinking that the property abutted mine, but it does not, so I will be suited today.
Okay. All right. So let me change my
And I was present for the
my
entire.
paper. I'm just gonna give everybody a minute to grab 65 emeralds. Does everybody have 65 emeralds? Does anybody?
Point of order. I'm not sure that you can recuse yourself and then come back in and vote on an application.
Well, I suggested to Karen that she do that because the reason that you confused yourself previously wasn't accurate. I wouldn't get into
Was
it.
present for the entire meeting, for the entire,
She has the information available. She just said, I can't vote. But obviously the reason she can't vote, it's not valid.
And she was present.
You know, but something that we just talked about.
I will remain recused, if you'd like, but.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I wouldn't wanna set us up for an appeal issue because.
Well, I would say from a logical point of view, you are present for the presentation.
Entirely, yep.
And you do not need to recuse yourself, which has been confirmed because even I want the property, I had the map in front of me. And I noticed
Right.
you don't touch the
At
property.
one point, the property did abut mine, but then a piece of it was sold, and so therefore it's now not abutting my property any longer.
Okay. So I'm okay with,
I guess the only other thing I would ask Karen is, would you care to state for the record that you don't have a conflict of interest?
I do not have conflict with interest in one way or another.
I'm satisfied. Okay. If the applicant wants to come forward to speak.
Kevin Cox, 65 Emerald Lane. The last meeting, I think we were fine with the site plan. With everything on that, so I don't have an engineer with me tonight. But I believe you were gonna do a site visit and then have discussion on that if there were some concerns.
Yeah, I did. So I went out, I took a look at the property, I took some photographs. We can talk to that in the future. I guess, your application. I did, and again, for everybody's benefit, I just want to clarify exactly what you would like to do with the land and what we could potentially approve. So right now, there's nothing planted there. But you, and this is, I guess for everybody's benefit, this is a farm. You are a recognized farm legally
Correct.
in the state.
Right, as farm status on that.
Okay. So you would like to, sell,
Christmas trees as a cut your own.
Correct.
And potentially, I think there was mention of other trees that you may grow there as well,
Right, nursery stock.
nursery stock,
Right.
which you sell in Seymour.
Sure.
And so, I'm just gonna kind of go through these in my head. If, with respect to the Christmas trees, hopefully that type of commercial sale is seasonal. But when you mentioned that you could bring in other customers, non-Christmas season, if they potentially, and what you had explained is if they had a larger order, or somebody said, listen, I wanna pick out my sugar maple. Out of your 20 sugar maples, I wanna pick mine, I don't want you to just deliver it to my property. And that's the other that's the other customer that you
In
might
my
have.
retail location, I had 2 down there, they didn't
Mhm.
like either one of those, I said, well, I've got 12 more up the street. I'm not gonna bring 12 down,
Mhm.
I'll have them come take a look at it.
Mhm. Okay. The other potential sale on the property I saw and use of the property was, a pick your own pumpkin. That's a
Possible.
Okay, well, I think in terms of, what we're approving, I'd rather put it all out there. I get, again, I think everybody here has some reasonable tolerances, right, where we don't have to get down.
So kind of like a worst case scenario, get
Mhm.
pumpkins and trees, if I don't do the pumpkins, then that's not a problem.
Mhm.
So like just put whatever I anticipate,
Mhm.
might be done on that property.
Okay. So right now, pumpkins, trees, like, are you thinking also like strawberries or blueberries? Okay, so we're kind of just pumpkins and Christmas trees. Okay. I also saw mention of one greenhouse to be built,
2 greenhouses.
2 greenhouses to be built, and are those shown?
They're on the line 5 here. They're upward.
Oh, okay, so they're right against. Okay, so let me make sure, this is your entry where you have a gate here right now, right? And you're at the end of the cul-de-sac and that's the direct way in, so this is the boundary. What I don't see, done a site plan. Is this, oh, wait a minute. This is your cul-de-sac here.
Yeah, there's a driveway that's part of the property that comes through.
Right, so this is up, is
Right,
there,
the bottom is the end of the road.
am I looking at this here, like this is a smaller scale, or is this for?
That's, no, that's, yeah, this is,
the-
just this,
Yeah,
This
Right.
way,
right.
Mhm. and so,
This is a cutout section of that in particular that shows the measurements.
okay, so the border, I just don't see is this the border line with, there's a house right here with a swimming pool? Okay, and that's that. Yeah, please see it, clear this. Thank you, because what I was trying to do was see where your greenhouses were
Right.
with respect to the boundary. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So the other part, we saw another one
Mhm.
is this section,
Mm-hmm,
and then that cutout is the driveway
yeah,
right there.
yeah, no, okay, I drove,
That leads up to the property.
yeah, got it, okay. And the Are the greenhouse sizes, did I see, did you have
20 by 50, I believe.
20 by 50? Is that,
And you're proposing one or two?
Two.
What is this lot 2 that's not your property? Where is it?
What's that?
This lot 2?
It's in like this, you're over here.
Yeah.
You say you see, before the heater, before that piece was sold.
Is there any access to the property off of State? Just Emerald?
Just
It's
Emerald.
just at the end of the
Emerald,
cul-de-sac?
Right.
It doesn't,
You'll Emerald, go straight into.
Yeah, it's, It's this jagged looking lot at the, in the social at the south. And then Shaker's Therapy.
Just a point of clarification, when you said this property is designated farm by the state, raise your hand.
It has farm status with the state. Has been in the past, before I bought it. So treated agriculture.
There's certain by right, activities that are allowed in farming, and I compared, I guess, IIG, the state with the Bethany, and they're actually very closely worded, if not verbatim. I'm on 5.4. Yeah, and I also have, IIG up. Okay, you printed it out, okay. So there's an explanation of what is allowed for farming and agriculture. What I think is worth noting in this is how they treat, wood. Which seems to have more of a binder on it, because I know there was some concern about, wood operations, and let me just, I didn't want to underline it, and I should have. You want to read it, or did you? Okay, the production, so I'm reading from the state's IIQ. 11Q, sorry. Production or harvesting of maple syrup or maple sugar or any agricultural commodity, including lumber, as an incident to ordinary farming operation. And then a little further down, I think it made note of it once again, where somebody can challenge me. My interpretation was sort of that, it was woodworking of the sort of as the clearing. It was incidental to or clearing of the farm itself, but not necessarily sale. I think it's worth noting. Maybe somebody can find it. Your G. Except as otherwise specifically defined and unless otherwise prohibited by these regulations, the words agriculture and farming shall include cultivation of the soil, dairying, forestry, raising or harvesting of any agricultural, horticultural commodity, including the raising, shearing, feeding, caring for, training, and management of livestock, including horses, bees, poultry, fur-bearing animals, and wildlife, and the raising or harvesting of oysters, clams, mussels, other molluscan, shellfish, or fish. The operation, management, conservation, improvement, or maintenance of a farm and its buildings, tools, and equipment, or salvaging timber or cleared land of brush or other debris left by a storm as an incident to such farming operations, semicolon. So those are the two mentions of the wood, which in my mind sort of speak to, not necessarily, like, I think there's more of a restriction on the sale of firewood on the property. I don't think that is in your requested permit, although there might have been a little bit of evolution. Maybe there was a statement one time where you said that you may cut wood for yourself there, but then I thought I saw something that you might also
I'll also
sell it.
clarify that I do take it from there and down to my retail place. And some of that is processed for that purpose too.
Yeah, I did, like I said, I did the site walk, I saw the wood there, so I don't, it seems like you bring wood there to then cut. As opposed to what I would call, say, incidental clearing of native wood on the property.
It says it on this picture. Under his application.
Okay, thank you.
Log lengths to be processed into firewood in designated areas.
I guess my point, I don't know whether you'd agree or not agree, but it seems like that is outside of the by right.
It's not an instant to farming unless you're growing the trees on your property and harvesting the wood from your farm that has acres and acres of trees that you're gonna cut in the process. Doing what you're doing now, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't fit the definition of farming. Because that is not incident to your farming activity.
That was my interpretation
right,
as
yeah.
well. Okay. Everything else, though, it seems like, by right, that the trees, there was a litany of things you can grow, care for, et cetera, and all of that. Yeah, oysters.
Sure.
It's allowed.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
For your, cutting Christmas trees and, as a seasonal activity, where you propose everybody's gonna cut?
It would be right in the right side.
Inside, not on the street, but inside?
Correct. Yeah. Say how many people are showing at the same time, but how can you really figure how much parking you're gonna need?
There's no other, aside from the greenhouses, there's no other permanent structure.
There's a couple of, turnout shed, the guy that owned before me had horses. And then one little storage, building there, he had a camper out there at one point.
My question is, if you're gonna cut your own trees there, you're gonna need an office, there's gonna be transactions and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
it's in a small stand there. I think he put something on there. Just inside of that. Board. I thought that was put on the fridge. Maybe I'm thinking. It's anywhere right as you come in.
Gotcha. Do you currently bring in soil or dirt from other locations, process it there?
Yes, we
And
have.
then bring it to your retail location, or do you keep it there?
Well, but yes, I mean, we do some, mixing of material for the plantings, compost, sick leaves and dirt. I mean, I put out there if there's any concrete or
But you're,
pallets or anything like that.
but you're not taking soil from your property, essentially mining it, processing it, and then bringing it down to, bringing it in.
Well, depending on where the, like say the potted material is, you're not gonna put the potted material into, say, topsoil.
But what I'm saying is, I guess I have a concern that
If
you're
there's
bringing it
excess there,
and then bring it back to your retail store. And
if
again, it
it's
doesn't,
excess, but we had, the previous commission, had gone over there and approved all that. They came over, did a site visit, so there's no problem with having that stockpile, and we brought some of that material in, or some of that material was already there when we bought the property.
I think you can understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yeah, for use on your property is fine to help you with growing your plants, but what I'm asking you, then after you process material that you're bringing in, are you then putting it on trucks and bringing it down to your, per se?
You sell topsoil, other material at Roosters. Like if somebody showed up and wanted like 5 yards of topsoil.
Yeah, we'll come right out of research, we wouldn't be coming up there.
No, right, but the material that you have at Roosters would be at least partially coming from the Emerald.
Sure.
Would the transactions, like for the cut your own, are they recorded in Bethany or are they recorded at Roosters?
Don't have to be worried about that. I filed sales and use, tax for that property. This is 65, that's part of having the farm status also. You have to make a certain amount. You can't just say, field. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of how many trees you're looking to maybe turn over every year there?
I really don't.
How long does it take to grow a Christmas tree?
Depending on what size you plant.
I guess you're right.
I could do it, and in 3 years or 4 years, then it'd be ready. And then you would replace those, as you, to keep the crop fitting.
But you must have done some sort of calculation as to how many trees. Yeah.
I wouldn't do the whole thing with Christmas trees. It's just a limited things. So I mean,
Do you have any, I mean, you're talking about like 100 trees a year, 1,000,
No, I wouldn't think that.
maybe somewhere in
A couple
between.
hundred, maybe. Yeah.
Where would, people who come to pick their own, use restrooms?
We would have one that's set up there, just, I have them on there,
You know,
on site, even for, my guys that are working on taking care of the nursery stuff. Not saying that we're just gonna be there once a week to, show somebody a tree, there's gonna be guys that work there to take care of things.
Because a porta potty is obviously portable,
Right.
is there a requirement to show those on a site plan? It's,
I thought he had put that on the.
Am I
asked him to
missing
Put
it?
that on there, just say near where the power comes in, which is on the right side, just inside the property.
cause it seems like this is where you envision folks parking, right?
Correct.
To the
It
right.
would be close to that location.
Mhm. And you're, again, to Adam's point, transactions or whatever, you'd have point of sale would be here.
Would just be a small stand.
Mhm. Which might be helpful to show on these. Unless, like, again, I'm missing it. These are your, yeah, cause I know right now here, this is where I think some of the
There's a couple-
existing buildings are,
A little
right?
closer to the,
Okay.
to this side. I believe that's to the left of those buildings. If you're looking back at
Okay,
that.
here's the boundary with the neighbor, right? Okay, and so like right here, yeah, I have photographs, but right here are some of those buildings that you mentioned that exist
Right.
right now in different kind of states. And here's the two greenhouses, and these U-shaped, it's just
Like storage.
bins, three-sided bins for storage of material.
Right.
Okay. And then it looks like this layout shows the Christmas trees on what I'll call like the Bethmore
Right.
adjacent property. And, down to.
Other ones would be planted or potted.
Okay. That's this area here, envision, okay. And then the topsoil, I almost think, is that where your topsoil is right now?
Comes down here now.
It's right here now? Okay.
Did you come up with a business plan on how many, trees you might be selling at any given time? Or what's this?
Yeah, I think Brad went down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good year. 300, I think, maybe in a good year.
I don't know. Sell them at the nursery is tough. People really want to go out and cut their own.
Now, there is equipment, on the property right now, whether it was there when you bought it or it's yours,
Both.
I imagine
Yeah.
so. Is that gonna be are you gonna clean up, like I said, it's sort of all over the boundary. I'll say it's around the boundary right now, right?
Yeah, we're trying to keep it close to the packed area
Mhm.
where the millings are. To park it out, you're just gonna ruin the field if you're driving stuff all over the place. So
Mhm. I just wondered if you were gonna designate like a equipment storage area.
it'd be similar to where the areas are they are now.
So that's the dirt pile right now, right? With the,
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a screener.
okay,
Yeah, so it's in this general area.
okay,
It's probably halfway between that and that.
okay.
Also, when customers come to buy the trees, is there like an hour of operation? Is it cut off at 5 and then it gets dark pretty early? Is there gonna be lighting?
No, I wouldn't anticipate lighting. No. I wouldn't, be stringing up lights out there. Especially if it's, the trees would be all the way at the other end of the property.
Yeah, I mean, dusk is around what, 4:30 at winter time
Yeah.
during Christmas?
Probably.
So,
We're doing 5 o'clock. Okay.
yeah.
The only thing I will note is that we seem to allow Christmas lights without having to come to the commission, that I think there's,
Right.
they, within a reasonable time around the holiday period. Should you want to do that, I noticed that. So I guess Hiram, I have a question for you then, again, with respect to, you had mentioned that you might put, some portable toilets there for your folks as well as customers. And your point of sale and possibly parking, does that need to be shown on the site plan?
They're portable, so I'm sure that could change slightly. but-
That's what I'm saying, if something's portable,
Right.
it doesn't make, it's kind of hard to say this is exactly where I'm gonna put it.
I mean, there's a specific area that they can't, like, see, just state it out record. that you can go to the report, they're very- so.
I mean, it makes sense for you to kind of have
Right,
them
absolutely.
here, but I could see where a neighbor might say, I really would not want porta potty close to my boundary, right? So it seems to make the most sense to put them near where all the folks would be
Right.
parking
Come, go.
and your point of sale.
Right.
So it might be a good idea just to note that so that we don't have a potential issue with a porta john floating around.
I guess Hiram, I got a question regarding, are the, runoff controls adequate for this?
I don't have any problem with runoffs there now.
I noticed on the plan, there's.
It's not a
no
real-
for-
It's not a real steep property or anything.
But you have a storm tap retention chambers on the diagram, so.
Yeah, on the lower corner, there is a,
Is that there now? Because it was snow covered, so
yeah,
I didn't even
mean,
notice it.
the top boundary of the property has a, I don't want to say a berm. That's all the way across the top and down to the other end to catch any rainwater coming down, say from the properties above. That's always been, and it's not something we could do.
I guess I've heard from the public, there's concerns about runoff coming out on the street, whether it be through
Oh, no.
trucks or
No,
whatever, but I'm more concerned
no, there's no
on
runoff.
property.
Runoff on the street.
It's pretty.
Excuse me, is that a question?
Yeah, I think when if the commission decides to move forward with the application, we certainly can control that, you know, as part of the motion, and make sure that we're just having basic controls.
Okay. And Kevin, there's also, the second page, you include, septic tank for the pump. As part of the application, I'm kind of confused as to why that's in the.
It should be. I thought there's just a well up there on the top. I don't have any septic system. I didn't notice any septic references.
There's a image of a leaching gallery.
And he must have gave you something that was before, like a preliminary thing. I think at one time this lot was done for a house. And then the people backed out, like they were gonna put the house up here. And that's where the septic system was gonna go for that.
So these,
But that has nothing to do with me.
so this part of the plan is not really appropriate, so I guess, these are not fully accurate as to what you're planning to do.
Yeah, this might require a revision just because there's an entire section on general septic notes, which wouldn't apply.
That in there.
There's a pump chamber.
None of that.
You've got a leaching gallery.
No.
Yes, I think unfortunately, these would have to be resubmitted with exactly what you plan to do. Mhm.
I'm familiar with that property.
Oh,
And that's exactly what that was.
House there. Okay, you just identify yourself, so we have. Okay, so I think though, in terms of what we would be approving relative to a plan, that this has to be taken off. If this is, because if we're approving a plan, we would be approving what's here. And so we wouldn't want to see anything on this.
And once you've got a set of plans that he put in. When I first talked to him. He had that on, you know, his original sketch. It's the same engineer that did the plan for the previous owner on selling it. Is there that state that that's the same set of bricks?
This is a proposed barn and nursery. The date is September. What's the date?
What date is it? It's 10 minutes. Well, it has to be another set.
And then, the notes in
Because he did that and I told him, no, we're not doing the barn. We're not doing septic. I need that.
yeah, he left it on and it is dated September 2025 with the notes and details on page 2.
He did a brand new set the week before we submitted.
Is it, do you think that there's a set without that was submitted?
That's set and for some reason that page from a previous.
This just says accepted by, Bethany Planning and Zoning, October 10th, 2025. Do you know if it,
No, we're running ones later than that. What was the meeting? Was it November?
yeah, so we would have we opened the public hearing
Yeah.
in December.
Yeah.
Veronica, do you know if we had anything else submitted?
Over submitted for Uzio.
I have a hypothetical question. If the commission wanted to take some these plans that show the septic, could the commission make a decision and simply state that?
A new set of plans not shown septic system would be required by the plan.
And that the commission is not approving any sort of septic rental property yet.
Are there any other questions before we open it up?
Traffic really is the thing that concerning, pick your own, get very busy, bringing material in. And I'd like to be more clarified on the materials that are being brought in. If you would, please.
I would clarify that the topsoil or compost, they bring in leaves to mix with the topsoil to create a compost. Or something like that. I stated that there wasn't any concrete, no pallets,
Right,
construction,
but,
nothing like that. I'm not bringing in rock to crush it, nothing like that.
more concerned about like, when materials gathered, is there any pesticides or, any type of, herbicides or environmental impact in that way?
Growing plants is gonna require, you know, the use of some products. So I mean, I don't know how you could test every load of material that came into the property.
Right, we had, I mean, this doesn't concern you, but we did have an applicant that came in and they were, bringing in material that had, prior, chemicals that are, you know, not approved any longer. They were, what's what I'm looking for? They were banned, pesticides.
Right, okay.
Prior, you know.
Right.
So we just wanna be sure that that's not gonna happen here.
I would not anticipate bringing anything that's contaminated. It wouldn't be in my best interest to put something like that around my nursery stock.
Right. And then, traffic, you know, how many trucks, how often, any
Well,
idea?
The trucks aren't often there. I mean, I don't think we've been there more than a few times in the last month.
I think, at one point, there was some activity that the town people voiced on the last meeting. You know, noise complaints and such. We don't
And
have
it was about the fire.
okay.
Yeah,
And
they're
so,
complaining about, you know, you should lift the wood and you throw it in the dumpster. Well, it's too loud, the wood is going in the dumpster.
So are you splitting wood there currently or not?
We haven't split anything there in a few weeks. But I do still have one there that needs to be split.
Would you like to say anything that would also appease some of the townspeople with the things that you heard in the last session?
I think we're very limited on the amount of time that we're over there. There's comments like, I gotta listen to this all day. It's just not that way, or that we come in there and are working at 6 o'clock. We're not. We're not there late at night. If we come in early, it's to pick up a piece of equipment like a tractor or something that I need for a job, or to drop one off later in the day.
Okay.
But there's not like 6 guys that are working all day and creating all kinds of noise. It's just,
And then activity going down a cul-de-sac, I mean, a lot of people go live on a cul-de-sac because they want, not a lot of activity.
right?
There's usually not a lot of pass-through on a cul-de-sac. So, I mean, pick your own kind of, it's great for people, they like it, there's, good for you that you don't have to cut all these trees down, but, the neighbors on it's a short period of time,
Right.
A month.
Right, basically from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and a lot of the smaller operations, like there's one up on Chestnut Tree Hill in Oxford. He's only open 2 days, and that's all I'm selling for the year. That his quantity is already gone.
And just worth noting again, just relative to farm status and farming. The following uses are permitted as of right. And then it's listed.
Pick your own, is it listed?
Doesn't necessarily say pick your own, but
Christmas tree farm, so that, yeah.
it says, yeah, I mean, you can read it here, but so there's a by right if you're a farm to raise.
Yeah, the thing
certain
about
things.
farms is they're quasi, business. So still have to abide by some business practices and in general, you wanna be, a good steward to your neighbors because
Absolutely.
it happens, many people are not happy living next to farms any longer. This is why there is statutes to have the right to farm. So that it allows people to not complain about the rooster crowing or the, soil being brought in or sowing on occasion.
Well, just make note, you don't intend to store manure there,
No.
just compost, okay?
Right.
Cause there are restrictions in terms of where that is to be stored, but I didn't see that in your application, just compost materials and leaves.
Right.
dirt. There's no other questions, we can open the floor for public comment. And just, I'll just say once again, just introduce yourself before you speak.
Linda Truesdale, 409 Bethany Road. I just want to say that what is happening at that property right now and what he is proposing are two very, very different things. When I first started hearing the noise down there and I went to Lena, and that was back in 2024, April of 2024, she told me that it was impossible that he was doing this much business down here because it was bought with the impression that it was going to be a tree farm. And I told her at that time, it is the furthest thing from a tree farm. So right now, there's no trees, which I'm sure you saw. There is wood. That wood is being manufactured. It's being taken, split and cut and split there and taken in dumpsters down to his business. The soil that's there that is mounded up as high as my house is being screened there, loaded into dump trucks, and taken down to his business. In order for him to have this tree farm or greenhouses, he would have to move all of that wood, and he would have to grade that whole ground down there and make it so that he could put up his greenhouse. Having a greenhouse is perfect. I mean, there's no noise, there's no nothing.
even a pick your own, if you were doing it a couple weekends a year, that's not a problem. But what's going on there now and what's being proposed are two different things. And this bothers me because I think this is a front and he's going to keep doing his wood and his soil down there and making all this noise and disturbing the neighborhood and making everybody else's life miserable. There's absolutely no respect for the neighbors in the surrounding that are above him. So I'm skeptical of this. I think this is just a front. And I think that he's going to keep doing what he's been doing. And we're gonna be back up here again. I'm just saying,
Thank you.
there's no transparency.
Patricia Romero, 419 Bethmore, directly behind the question. I just want to say that I looked at the zoning regulations, and in your section 5.3, it says, highlighted it, in a residential zone, buildings and premises may be used and buildings may be erected or structurally altered, which are arranged, intended, and or designed to be used only for the following purposes, provided that the residential character of the property is maintained. Okay. And then when you go down to number 2, letter D, it says no accessory building shall be used for commercial purposes in a residential zone without approval of the commission, which is what he's probably asking for. But under C, it says accessory buildings incidental to residential occupancy, such as a tool shed, workshop, greenhouse, storage shed, or non-commercial barn, shall not be used as a dwelling unit and shall not be permitted on a lot without a primary structure. There's no home there. There's no residence. There's no primary structure. So is this allowed?
Paramedic, are there certain things that are allowed because of the farm
Yeah,
status?
there are another section of the regulations on page, section 5.4 G. And 1 and 2 talk about, uses that are permitted as right, that goes into the farming uses there.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to say, just to corroborate what Linda said, he is correct. It has not been happening recently because it's winter, slightly, but during the summer months, there is incessant chainsawing, and it is all day long on the weekends. And it's very loud. I know that people said that live on Emerald, they don't hear it, but if you live above him, I don't know whether the noise carries, but you have to listen to that chainsaw, and it's very loud, and the lots being thrown in the dumpsters, and it's not a good use during, for a residential property. I mean, as she said, we don't care if he plants trees, that's fine. It's his property, and he can do that, but logging is not part of this and shouldn't be part of this, because as you said earlier, the trees were not cut down on that property. They were not felled by a storm or anything like that. They were brought in on flatbeds, and they're being processed there commercially, and they shouldn't be. And I don't think that should be allowed, and I think that you should restrict that if you do approve this operation.
Frank Russo, 409 Bethany Road. I just want to echo what my Clinton said. I don't trust this guy. I mean, he already lied the first time that we were here.
I didn't lie about anything.
Yes.
She did.
I did
You
not.
did.
She did.
If you're gonna argue, I will throw you out. Okay, hold on, just hold on. This is for everybody's benefit. Yeah, that's right, sir. Okay, just for everybody's benefit, we're all gonna be respectful of each other. It's late. We've sat through one. We are here to help everybody in this room, okay? To determine what is the right thing to do in this case, but I'm just gonna ask, do not make please don't accuse. Please be respectful of each other, okay? That's all I'm gonna ask. So just be careful of I'm not an attorney, but just be careful of
I'm just
allegations.
saying, at the beginning of his statement last meeting, he said that that was for personal use. And by the end of what he said, you can go back to the meeting minutes, you can go back to it's on YouTube. By the end of it, he said that he was selling. Something I'm not sure what to say.
Thank you.
And you're welcome.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Sir?
I've got a picture of.
Could you just introduce yourself, sir? Could you state your name, sir?
Larry Harrington, 66 acre road, I've got a picture of his stuff that he's cutting up. He's not bringing any of that in. It's not on his property. He's cutting it, and bringing it in. Then he says he's not doing anything, maybe 2 or 3 truckloads a day. That's bull. That in the summertime, we had trucks going up and down all the time. And they have diesel engine fumes coming out. We have to suck that in. That's not right. I can't do that. You want a picture? Want me to show you the picture?
Oh, I was there.
Okay, I don't know if you saw the one I have.
Do you, I guess, not do,
Just send them to,
With this,
send this to Veronica.
was to make some.
Email them to Veronica.
But he's always got trucks going up Emerald Lane, and what he was doing too, is he would come up Emerald Lane, go in, and then go out near to Mesa, and come down Bethmore Road. Just so it didn't look like he had too many trucks.
any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Joseph Turtle, 333 Bethmore. I'd just like to say, porta potties wind up there. They should have some street. People should have. Porta john.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think I get it. No, I'm not, because, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I keep the mask on, because for my safety, I'm not.
Just so they can hear you,
Yeah, just as,
Not trying to be disrespectful, but, I know I get it. I live on Shaker Road, with Emerald Lane.
Your name?
yeah, I didn't get,
Marcy Caguero. So I'm been living in this one for 25 years. I can't even control my anxiety and everything. I bought this house because it's so nice and quiet. And now I have to build, but he started doing business with no permit already. He has no permit, but he's doing his business for 2 years. How is that happening? I can't take the noise. My house is shaking on the corner. He comes on Shaker Road, turns on the Emerald Lane, and I can feel the vibration in my house. And the noise and the pollution. And I'm thinking now, 100 customers, even during winter time, how is gonna be all of this stuff? How we're gonna deal with it? With this kind of traffic in a small area? It's like this parking lot over here. It's not that big. Why are you gonna park 50 cars over there? We have kids on the street. We have elderly people. I bought this house to retire here, and I invested so much. I can't take this. He started his business before he's getting the permit. He should not be allowed to do this. And I can't deal with this. And this is my last time coming to this meeting. I don't want to have a heart attack. Seriously, I have grandkids. They to visit me. I'm afraid to leave them to play outside. We had a very nice, quiet neighborhood, and one business like this is going to disturb the whole neighborhood. Everybody's complaining about noise pollution, and he has no respect of the hour. If it's affecting people over there, he shouldn't be doing 5 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock. He's not reliable on his work. Like if he gets hands, he's gonna take the whole, advantage of all of this, what he's gonna get. I'm totally no against this business, big or small. Because if it's that big, you can stop it. It's gonna be go further than that. Thank you.
anyone else like to speak? Okay. not, I don't know if you wanna make another statement, otherwise I'm gonna close the hearing.
We're not doing the hours that they're talking about. We're not there at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're not there all day on the weekends. I mean, it's
I
just
think
not,
you're.
it's just not
What were the requested
the way that we've
hours?
been there. You know, there's another guy on the street that's running a landscape business. At the end of that street, and that has nothing to do with me. He parks it all his stuff in, you know, just off the street, you probably saw it when you were there.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That's not me.
there were construction trucks at the
Those are-
end of,
Those are,
the cul-de-sac. Okay,
That's it, where you're both.
yeah, just introduce yourself again.
He is correct. I logged all of these, dates and times, and these were all sent to me, previously because she asked me. To do that. And I sent a log and sent it, via email. I think it'd be dropped off. Anyway, the earliest that I had recorded was 6:50 AM right before seven. That this started. And it does, on the weekends, it did last pretty much all day, during the summer months. As you said, lately it has not been happening. So in the summer months, it was, all day long. If you look at that log, you can see the different dates, and that's only when I was home to do work. So there are some that I'm sure are not.
Okay, so you're on the, statement of use, you're saying your hours of operation are 6:30 AM to 6 o'clock PM, Monday through Saturday, and 9 AM to 5 PM Sunday.
Just worst case, you know, I don't expect to be there at 6:30, but if I was coming to pick up a piece of equipment. For a job, you
Mhm.
might come in at 6:30 and pick it up. Or if there's an issue at the property, you know, somebody might be there at 6:30, but it's not.
Okay. All right, just wanna
What
clarify.
kind of equipment are you storing there that you would have to get?
Some, tractors for the fields. I've got one, skid steer, I believe, and there is a screener there.
Hiram, can I share my photos with the rest of the commission?
Sure, I would suggest so, is
Enter them into like
Yeah,
public
so we
record, I'll
can-
send
yeah,
them to the whole set to you, so that, does anyone wanna see? I'm willing to share, and then, like I said, I'll enter it. Would it help?
And there's some implements,
Just,
you know, for the tractors.
scroll that one, but this is the first photo. And then we have a question from Lauren. That's the wood file right now.
Audio recordings and, videos were also sent in by many of us.
And I think that's, we're looking
You
out.
think
with
you
on-
could
on
lower
them.
the hours in the
That's what
morning,
I'm saying.
especially for Saturday?
That's looking towards the bend of Shaker. That photo.
You
You got the mayor.
Yeah, yeah,
Who's got a post now?
me.
Oh, somebody back here was talking, right?
No, I asked you, would you be willing to lower your hours from, on Saturday, at least?
Yeah,
you know,
I'm
but-
just trying to give a worst case scenario, so if I did come there once or twice at 6:30, that I don't get a, you know, you guys don't get a
Violation.
phone call. You know, I say, I'm not coming right until 7:15, and I show up at 7:14. You know, you're gonna get a phone call. And then we're gonna be right back here, so I try to show what the worst possibility is. You know, I'm not coming there at 5 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock in the morning. Worst case, if I say 6:30, if I've gotta get something to a job for 7 o'clock, and I come in and pick up one of the tractors, cause I need it, you know, go plant something or whatever, I would be there.
Excuse me, if you do want to speak, just raise your hand, introduce yourself again.
What is done, I weekend to relax, because by.
Excuse me, you're not gonna address them, you address us.
Just looking around, but I can't think. We deserve to enjoy our weekend. We don't need traffic on the street, we don't need noise. If he says it's coming, maybe officially, Yeah. If you allow contact, it's gonna, every weekend, no weekend, no business on this little street.
I will make a comment for people's benefit again. Per Connecticut state law, properties can be designated farms. If they're farms, recognized farms by the state, they have certain things they can do by right. We have certain abilities to restrict certain things, but we can't necessarily contradict statutes. That would open this up then to appeal. Just general benefit. And if I'm wrong, jump in, Brad, again. Not
My area of expertise.
you were next, yeah.
Yes. Also, the equipment storage and the farming, it's two different things. He's using that as farming and using his equipment for the farm. Why is he coming in at 6:30 AM to move this equipment to go do a job? That's equipment storage. That's not farming. That's not for use on that property. Shouldn't the equipment there be for use on that property? Not just the storage site that he could just come in at any hour and take it and go do a job somewhere with it. That's commercial. That's not farming. That's not farming that property.
So I respond to that? So if I had an excavator there to do the planting of the nursery stock that I have, and then somebody buys one of my trees, I can't take that excavator and go plant that tree?
Ask them.
I'm asking you, because you're telling me I can't
So,
use that piece of equipment, everything but on that phone.
Okay, hold on.
Address.
So I will just say there's, in my mind, there's some reasonable use. There's some reasonable use. And like I said, for every, maybe a very subjective line, but at some point, it's gonna be clearly equipment that has no use for the property. And there will be some equipment that applies to his business. And like I said, there might be a gray area and there might be easily discernible, but there's gonna be some equipment that I would expect to be required on a farm for legitimate use. And there'd be some equipment that I would say is not legitimate use. And we can edit
But
permits accordingly.
can he store equipment there that he's using? In other words,
If, so I think his case
and
is
if-
I have a piece of equipment that I need to store when somebody buys one of my trees. So I load it up on a trailer and I bring my excavator down to who bought the tree so I can plant their tree and then return it. And that seems like, in my mind, reasonable use. But if somebody gets a cement mixer there, and there doesn't seem to be a need for any cement on his property, I would say that is not reasonable. And that might be a gross exaggeration, but like I said, there's gonna be some tolerance around reasonable use of property or equipment. Hope that helps.
I would say, what I'm saying is, why would we need to come and move equipment around for the hours of the morning?
So I think your point's well taken, but like I said, I think there's gonna be reasonable use and there's not reasonable use. Did you have a comment, Karen?
I was gonna say, as far as like vehicles go, I would probably look to the Connecticut farm plate requirements. And, one of the information here is that, misuse like personal transport, commuting, or hauling for hire is prohibited and subject to fines. That's for farm plates for a designated vehicle for your farm, if you were to get farm plates for your vehicle if you own a farm. So I would think that that's kind of like, the same thing if he, was using it for his business in Seymour. That's that gray area that we're talking about, you know, is it registered to that business? Is it registered to this business? Is it occasional? I understand you don't wanna buy two pieces of machinery, you know. But that's, you know, something to think about.
Sir, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
Just,
seems like the
just
board.
reintroduce yourself, please, for
No,
the
I'm
record.
sure it seems like the board is just concentrating on the farm instead of the residential area that we're in right now. He wants to change the zoning to a farm, that's fine. I don't have a problem with farm, but he's gonna be running his trucks on our street. And it's not a big street. And I don't like to have his trucks going up and down all the time. During the summer, late spring into early fall, he's got trucks running up and down on the road. And it's a pain in the neck because it's loud, it smells, and it's annoying.
Well, it currently is a farm.
Huh?
It is a farm.
I know, but our street is not a farm.
And the applicant is asking to make a tree farm, you know, that we're just trying to find out what that entails.
Yeah, but he can't come in and change our environment. That's not right. I'm sorry.
It is a residential.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
question? The various audience members tonight have mentioned, pictures and videos that were submitted to the CEO while she was still here. Are those part of the record, part of the file on this case? 'Cause
Yes,
where are those?
they may be in the file. I haven't seen them all yet, we haven't shown them, but they're absolutely, if we have them, they're absolutely.
Yeah, there's a file for 65 Emerald. Like I said, I was down there yesterday. I drove by a couple times in December, but I did a sidewalk yesterday. I think it was yesterday, whenever Tuesday, 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Are you familiar with what the pictures and videos depict, or?
No.
Okay.
yeah. I got it.
Annette Snow, 54 Lacey Road. I would just wanna ask, okay, are you running a landscaping service?
She addressed, you addressed us, not,
Is he, running a landscaping service and like the plants that he's producing on his property, if he's landscaping them on other people's property, that's probably fine. But if he has the Red Rooster business over on the other, you know, in Seymour, and he's getting a lot of plants in and out from other growers and he's landscaping, you know, is he running a landscaping business would be my question.
Okay, you can read the permit request. And it's obviously public. And it's plant nursery, cut and pick your own. We've discussed, Christmas trees, which are delineated trees of other types. So I say not necessarily limited to Christmas trees, there would be nursery stock trees.
Correct.
And, you may do cut your own with the Christmas trees and possibly pumpkins. With, other than, the general point of sale sounds like it's intended to be roosters, except when you do cut your own, pick your own, or a customer comes because they want to pick their
Correct.
particular tree. That's what's in front of us. That's what we would be approving. Yes, ma'am?
I just wanna reiterate to that this is, we live in residential. This is a business that's going into this residential area, no matter what we look at, farm or not farm. It's business. I don't feel that a business belongs in the middle of a residential area. And I don't think any of us feel that way. You know, the first selectman's first thing that she said in her newsletter the other day was, let's keep Bethany rural. Well, if it's a tree farm, okay, but this is not a tree farm. This is business. Where it's not rural. This is not rural. I'm sorry. There's a fine line and it's a gray area. But what's happening there now and what's being proposed, two different things. There's a trust factor here that has just gone the wayside. So I just want the committee to realize this is a residential area and that's what it's zoned as.
So I understand that. And again, and I'll point people to, the Bethany rules and regulations that are almost verbatim with the state. The state and Bethany do allow farms. Farms as businesses.
Right.
placed wherever they happen to be. And I would say if people don't like that, I would go to the state. I would make an effort to the state and say that has to be changed. This gentleman is in front of us now. It's not gonna be retroactive, right? In terms of anything that's happening right now. Unfortunately, we don't have a ZEO, right? Can't speak too much to the past ZEO. Whether things were done correctly, and I don't want to make any statements, right? But I would say from this time going forward, if we can just look at this time going forward, and I can recognize if some people feel like, hey, I don't think everything was on the up and up in the past, and I'm not making that statement. That's a hypothetical. That's just a hypothetical in general, as I'm not going to say it's anything to do with this. If we just draw a line and we say going forward, there's a person in front of us who has a recognized farm, who by right can do certain things. We can't restrict what's here by right. Which also includes use of public roads. We just can't do that. We can listen to concerns in the town and in the permit restrict certain things that again, we can touch. And to the best of our ability, satisfy certain concerns. Like, I personally think it might be reasonable to screen a toilet, a portable toilet, a little fencing or something. Other people may disagree, but, with respect to what we may approve going forward, we will have a ZEO. We will hire someone. And, I would say then with that new person, as with any other building permit or even home, if we are notified of violations, we get complaints that come in, then what should happen is the ZEO should go out, follow up on the complaint, and either work it independently, or if it has to come back to the commission or even the town attorney, because there is a violation of whatever sort. At the end, you could have a cease and desist, or possibly even legal action, right? But we aren't there yet. That's all I can say is we have an application in front of us, has to be treated independently. With respect to certain things we can't touch, certain things we can, and we can only move forward. I can't do anything behind us, if that makes sense.
I got you. So if moving forward, if this goes through and it is a tree farm and a true tree farm, and then something else goes on in that property, it is up to us as the abutters and the residents of.
Let's say hypothetically gravel storage,
To go to these.
something complete, yes. Then
The enforcement officer.
you would
in that.
call the town
Okay.
and say, I'm seeing this, please come out. You would
Okay.
expect that the ZEO would come out. It would be documented. There might be questions. I mean, perhaps in a certain case, somebody said, listen, I'm helping somebody out. It's only gonna be here for 3 days, and maybe it really does disappear in 3 days, right? But I would absolutely say, if you see anything that, you would call the town and say, I'm seeing this. Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? And you can obviously pull permits and you could say, oh, I don't see this. So, and then you can go right to the ZEO and say, this is not allowed and I've seen it and here's photograph.
Okay.
And he or she would then follow up.
Okay. We tried that with Lena, it didn't work. but-
I know, like I said, I can't speak to that.
I get it.
I just ask
Could you just introduce yourself?
Steve Susan, 52 number one. A general question that may or may not clarify some stuff here for not only myself, but other people. But I believe Clover Nook is an operating park, correct?
I don't know about Clover, but I say Verubs is. I'm aware of Verubs also.
Well, Clover Nook is an
Nook is.
operating park.
Okay,
They have machinery that they run to farm. They have a retail store. They're a farm. All the same complaints that we're talking about here right now are on any farm. And that's in a residential area as well.
They don't process lots. I was gonna say, process.
There's still equipment and whatnot.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest things you guys have been complaining about. They have trucks that go in and out.
You
whatnot.
gotta talk to us.
You talked to us, it's not a virus.
Same thing.
Okay,
They have equipment that goes in and out. They have trucks that go in and out.
They have livestock that makes noise. They're in a residential area. A farm is a farm, regardless of where it is.
Did you have a question, ma'am?
No, I was just gonna say they don't process logs, they don't do the lumber processing there. It's not that close up over there.
Okay.
That's the main concern that I have is the logging.
Mhm.
It's- Yeah, if a tree falls on your property, you use a chainsaw and you cut it out. But you don't bring them in on flatbeds and process them in a residential area.
I think we'll probably close the public hearing unless, because I'm gonna give, as the applicant, I'm just gonna give you a few minutes, okay?
I have one more concern. Well,
You just introduce yourself one more time.
yeah, I don't think I get the picture, but I have another concern about the topsoil draining into that would siphon out property in the well. We are using water well, and we don't know what is draining and those mounds of dirt in our backyard. So if we drain and we can't control the water table, it will come on my well and my neighbor well, and that's not acceptable.
I think some of those concerns might lean a little bit more to inland wetlands, as opposed to planning and zoning, which you could probably run by them. I'm not, I think that he's a farm, so there's gonna be certain things by right that I don't think inland wetlands. Yeah, or help, okay, all right, yeah.
Question to the chair.
Thank you.
Other than the statement by the applicant, is there anything in the record, any documents that indicate that this parcel is in fact designated a farm by the state?
I think we asked for that before and.
It is,
Yeah.
it's on the card. It's, does a 490 on the,
On the what?
It's in the minutes, I think
It's
it was even, it's in the
on
minutes that we
the-
verified it,
No,
assessment card.
okay, that was my question.
yeah.
What the applicant said at the last meeting and what the applicant has said tonight is not the same thing as documentary evidence, something from the state. A field card in the town of Bethany is not dispositive, just like the tax roll designation is not dispositive. So, are you aware of any documents that have been submitted on your behalf?
In the town of Bethany, yeah.
In the
They would apply for farm status, to continue on that property. That's what, that piece has always been farm.
you
Yes.
applied to who?
Town of Bethany. Assessor.
Okay, again, that's, okay, different question. I'm not talking about what the tax designation is. You indicated during the course of your public statement that the state of Connecticut has designated this parcel a farm for purposes under the statute. My question is there any document that's been submitted either by you or from the state in our record that confirms that point?
You would have to look at your records. I don't know what the process was. I applied to you guys because it's in your town and you verify it with the state. And then give that designation.
When you say you apply to the town, you're talking about for tax purposes only, correct?
To get that status. I wasn't doing it for the taxes, it was farm status, and I wanted to keep it that, and we came to the board before I even purchased the property and make sure that that was not a problem.
You're talking about the tax assessor, or you're talking about planning and zoning?
The way it works is you go to the assessment office and you designate part of your parcel or all of your parcel as a farm. And then you are obliged to do your taxes and sell X amount of goods to remain as a farm.
How the property is taxed is a very different question than how the state designates it for zoning purposes. Two totally different questions. In order to qualify for the tax benefit, you have to reapply on a regular basis and prove to the assessor what you're using the property for. Like, you can't just say all of a sudden your house is a farm unless you're actually growing things on it.
Right, we do that every year.
And you lose that designation for tax purposes when you transfer the property. But that's a totally separate issue from what we're talking about here tonight for planning and zoning purpose use. And whether it's a designation from the state, has nothing to do with tax law.
So I don't know if this answers it, but this is in the minutes. Town Attorney Marino confirmed that the parcel is designated PA 490 farmland on the assessor's card. So whether it's on the card says PA 490, PA 490 Farm and Forest Classification Act.
That's how it's in their farm.
The question last time was exactly that. How was it designated for tax purposes? Without getting into whether former town attorney was right or wrong about that, the designation from 5 years ago that he was talking about really doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't survive the transfer of the property.
Correct. But regardless, it's a separate issue. It doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, so you're kind of conflating the two issues, so that's why I just wanted the record to be clear. Whether there's any documents that have been submitted that indicate that the state of Connecticut has designated this as farmland. Sounds like the answer is no.
But did you reapply? Did you mention that you reapplied for PA 490?
Yeah, each year Bethany sends me an application,
Mhm.
so to speak, to a form to fill out,
Mhm.
you know, on what went on the property as far as, you know, bringing in,
Mhm.
income from it. You know, a farm has to bring in something in order to be designated.
Okay, so let's just say we assume that you are up to date with submission of PA 490 paperwork. Is local accepted? Does it have to go to the state or is it just local?
Public Act 490, State Act, and it's filed through the assessor's office.
So we would assume it is received by Bethany and there would be, right, the date of receipt by Bethany logged and then I guess sent up to reside with the state. I don't think.
Jim, right, I mean, he fills out the form on an annual basis and determines whether the property is useful under Public Act 490. So that's how the classification for taxation purposes at the local level. But the state act is Public Act 490, that's fine.
So is your question whether he has a right, like he's a farm at this moment?
My question was, is there any documentation from the state in our record that indicates that this parcel has been designated as farmland? Because that's what I heard somebody say earlier in the meeting.
So as a process, just so I know, must the state accept the application and then say, yes, we approve of this? Okay,
This is
and,
the middle right there.
and with respect to this property, are we in accord?
Yes, I believe at the previous meeting, we talked about 490.
That
I believe the assessor's part of that.
It says the town attorney Marino confirmed that the parcel is designated PA 490 farmland on the assessor's card.
And that was dated what year? It wasn't the current year.
I don't have it in front of me, but I think they're updated again.
It's current on the GIS.
Would it be in the 65 file? Do you know, would it be in the 60, if we went in right now?
I think it's part of that folder with the original, there was some.
Because it might be on, if somebody, I'm not online, but it might be obtainable. You think it's in one of these?
On the GIS. Of the traffic plan.
That's it.
That's.
I'm not sure.
All over the ball. And not me.
Real estate record town of Bethany. Unique address. $707 assessed value, exemption, submit value. See it on here. But I don't know if it's required on this. Can I? Oh, description. Well, it says use farm. Farm use on the real estate record. We take that as 490. Okay, and this is October 10th, 2025. Town of Bethany. So can we state that we have acceptance that he is a farm?
I would just simply say that it's shown that way in the assessor's record.
That,
Right, so, that's what the zoning regulations are, what you're gonna take a look at.
okay, so for the record, we have farm status noted on the real estate record for Bethany as of October 10th, 2025. Okay. So I think I'm gonna close. Any other questions here, at least from Max?
Question before you close.
Mhm.
In order, I don't know if you have to keep the public meeting open or not, but I think we should have him redo the accuracy of this, before we make any decisions on the property.
We can close the public hearing and then determine what we need back from him.
Yeah,
in
Or
terms
does
of-
the time clock run out, because when does
Yes,
this all start?
if you decide that the map needs to be amended with regard to the septic system that we talked about before previously, that, you know, prior to the approval becoming effective, a map showing that it can be submitted to the commission, or staff.
Okay.
Honestly, I just believe that there is another set of prints that were submitted. You know, I think that, originally when I talked with Lena and I brought in, you know, how many of her things she needed. And then when, we discussed things about the property and I said, well, I don't want to put in a septic or you have to deal with that. I don't need that for what I'm gonna do. So we did another 12 copies and I brought them, I don't have them, brought them here.
Yeah, the only thing,
They should have been dated. close
that's what I
to
was
that
gonna say,
date.
if we receive them, they should be on file somewhere and
Yeah, it
dated,
should
and
be
we'll
with
just
you
look.
or possibly there may be another
If,
set of
if we can't find,
Yeah.
if we can't find them, presumably your engineer already drafted them up clean, and then we would just ask you
Yeah,
to resubmit.
I'll do that. I just remember it printed 12, I said, I gotta print another 12?
Yeah,
Like, I know it's two sets.
yeah, and frankly, if you,
Yeah.
if you are gonna go back for the clean set without
Yeah.
the septic, that would really be the opportunity, if pending any request from the commission to say, listen, could you show us, could you articulate or show where you're going to put your point of sale or your porta potty or whatever, that would be the opportunity, okay?
And the other thing is, amend his application to remove the log.
Well, I was gonna close the public hearing before we have any discussion about that, is that
Yeah,
okay?
correct, yeah, I mean, the application is what it is,
And
commission approves what is approved.
close the hearing and then we can discuss in terms of what the permit would actually be and the wording, et cetera.
Recommendations for you.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to close?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Go back to the agenda. Yeah, okay, so it's on, what is it, 10:30? 10:30?
27.
10:27, okay, so, we did actually go through what is the second section 10. And there's any. Hiram, before I talk about moving anything to the next meeting or making motions to do anything like that or adjourn.
That's it, till something don't come up, but I think you guys, both of these are fairly complicated. My suggestion would be, and you don't need to make a decision for 65 days.
That was gonna be my question.
Okay, so what I would suggest to you is that staff to draft a draft motion for you on both those for your consideration for the next meeting.
Mhm.
You don't have to get into all the details of tonight, but just draft them based on what I've heard,
Mhm.
and then get that to you, and then you can modify it however you want. At your next meeting, my suggestion, here we go.
Yeah, okay, so, we have 65 days then from tonight. Okay, so
65 or
65, we have 65 days from tonight, which is essentially 2 months of meeting.
No, for both of the public hearings that we.
Right.
Yes.
Conducted.
So I guess with respect to what you heard this evening, we could draft some draft motions that we could edit then, I think would be helpful. And we could, potentially do surgery or accept as is next time. And then, let me just, so we got through 1 through 8. And we got through the second 10. And, so I think, what I would propose maybe is we have a motion to move. Yeah, I was gonna say second 10, we got through second 10, not first 10. So we didn't do 9. And we didn't do first 10. And with the fact that we would be starting those at 10:30, probably best to postpone them to
I think that's.
February. And before I would call for a motion to move those, Hiram or Veronica, is there anything absolutely critical that we have to touch or address tonight?
I think the rest of them was right.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion then to push, old business item 9 and new business item 10 to the February meeting? Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and then do we have a motion to adjourn, right? I think we can do the motion to adjourn. No, we're,
I didn't know.
yeah, no. We closed both public hearings. Both public hearings are closed.
I'm on number 10.
And
You know, I don't mean any.
So-
Not. Thank you.
He's on business.
so I'm just, I know we just,
You need to keep on that.
so with respect to potentially, helping someone, just that you have, for the benefit of everybody, I know you have something in front of us. I don't know if everybody here is at peak performance, so to speak. And honestly, we did just, can you make a motion to, can you?
Gotta do a motion.
We just voted to move 9 and 10 to, we didn't vote to adjourn, we stopped right before that. We voted to move 9 and 10 to next month, based on the time.
Very sorry.
Make the motion of the,
What was that?
motion to the item, I don't know, I'll start.
Is,
Once you make a motion, can you undo a motion?
okay, so,
Motion to rescind the prior motion.
do you, so there's.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll just say, in the interest of helping some folks in the town, it looks like there's 2 things. I see some people here probably here for, I'm assuming, new business 10A and B,
Renovation,
which
construction.
Hiram tonight would just be, there's no act. There's,
Just receiving the application.
Just receiving the application tonight.
Staff will review it for your next meeting.
Okay, so I will say, in the interest of helping these folks out in the town, would somebody like to rescind moving 10, just 10? And we'll execute 10 tonight, receiving the 2? In the interest of time and helping folks out.
I'll make that motion.
You're very kind, gentlemen.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, we're still in business. We're gonna start we're gonna start 10 new business. So that would be application 25/25/14. Oh, sorry. Yes,
That's correct.
yeah. Like I said, I'm a little punchy.
Get
App-
that one.
Application 25/25/14, Matthew Titolo, 350 Amity Road, R65 zone. Application for permit for the renovation and use of the existing detached garage office space for a counseling office. So this would be just submission of that for this evening?
Yeah.
Okay. I did take a look at that on the GIS location. Do we have that here somewhere? Probably one of the smaller ones right in front of me. And 350, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct, so the actual building itself does not have its own individual address for that dwelling or that structure. The parcel is 350, there's multiple dwellings on it. There's 350, which is my primary, 352, which is my rental property, and the office or laboratory to be rehabilitated, which is in the lower right corner of this drawing here.
Mhm. So I'm looking at 350. And I imagine, so there is an official 352? There is an official 352, which is your rental property.
Yes.
Okay, and then you are applying, it looks like you will be putting in a four parking spaces adjacent to a boundary. You have an existing garage, which may or may not be within the setback. If it's not within, it's, what's the phrase we use? If it's not compliant, but it's already water under the bridge, you know. Grandfather, non-conforming, that's what I was looking, yes. But I just know so on your sketch here, you have your parking lot and your office up against the boundary. I imagine, there would be a setback you'd have to respect.
Sure, yeah, so, originally, I don't know how much was included, but, this is a little bit more than a garage, it's a little bit of a unique property. A gentleman by the name of Treat Baldwin Johnson actually had his laboratory there, and he was a Yale professor. He's a little bit of Bethany history that not many people know about, but I do have a published works. It does state that that was a laboratory that he had, actually done a lot of cool things out of and sold to Uniroy. This is more than just a detached garage. This is actually something that was used in business, and I'm just kind of trying to revitalize it and do something with it rather than just have the squirrels living in there. I'd like to have my wife do a little therapy out of there. It would be very minimal cars coming in and out. A lot of it would be telehealth, but it would be something that I could bill home insurance. So that's why I'm looking to get permitted and do it the right way.
Okay, so just to be clear, are you looking, I see on this first page, there's an existing garage and then an office to be rehabilitated. So there is an existing building next to an existing garage?
Yeah, let me clarify that. That existing garage, I wanted to call it, the office to be rehabilitated. It's not two separate
Okay,
structures. However, since this is such a confusing property, may I lean over and point to?
Mhm.
This is an existing garage. This is Route 63. This is
Oh.
where the cars.
here, you're off, yeah.
This is down here.
Yeah.
This is the one that I'm trying to actually change.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, but,
And then underneath it, I just kind of tried to title it. There's no.
okay, so you
Yes.
are, to be clear, there's an existing garage
Mhm.
towards the back of the property, north side.
Mhm.
Against the Barron property. And it's that existing garage that you're proposing to renovate into an office.
Precisely, yes.
Okay.
So there's already a cesspool that's been, documented, checked out. And I already had Alexis, from QBHD signed off on it. There's already electrical, and the way that it was constructed is much more than a garage. It's very heavy duty. I can give you anything that you'd like on it. But yeah,
So Hiram, this is R 65. Does this need a public hearing and permit to conduct?
In public hearing, but the maximum size is the professional office is 500 square feet, so does that meet this?
maximum size of a professional office is 500 square feet. Is that the
What's this structure?
I don't want to say something that's not correct. I believe it's 20 by 30, so I think it's probably about, does a waiting room count for the office space?
500 square feet total is the maximum that's allowed in the residential zone for it.
Okay. I believe that it is 20 by 30, which would be, I think, 600 square feet. That's how the building's built. Just to be honest with you, I'm not gonna say that it's 500 square feet. I think it's 600, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
What if he didn't use the building or his square feet of the building? I mean,
The building itself, the footprint, I can make the office smaller, I guess. Yeah,
that might
I'll
be
make it a little smaller. I'll just have a floating wall.
I'm just saying that it's
Somebody can make it the next one.
a variance situation needs to be 500 square feet.
Of active office space?
Yeah.
Okay, so taking that into consideration, it sounds like to avoid a variance, your functional office space should be below that 500 square feet. And can we give guidance? Because on this plan, I see office, bathroom, and waiting room. Hiram, does that mean essentially all of those functions serving this business should be less than 500? Whatever you have that is part of this business should be less than 500 square feet. Okay.
And why does this not have to be,
Well, I think it still needs a public hearing, but
to be within the setbacks?
No, except for users. Oh. This is
Accessory uses can be right at the property line?
existing structure, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's pre-existing, not even formed.
But the office,
no, he's using the garage as the
As yours.
office.
Oh, okay, so that little square underneath the garage is just his explanation of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Description bubble.
that was a description bubble that has confused everyone. I'm hungry. I didn't need my description bubble to miss.
P and Z see squares with a name on it, we think it's a good.
Yeah.
See that now.
Yeah, any square with a name is a building. So, it sounds like you want to keep all functions relative to your business within the 500 square feet. And Hiram, that avoids a special permit?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Commission can bring that.
then do we need a public hearing?
No.
Okay, do we, in terms of past history and different types of site plans that we've received, do we want to have a better definition maybe on this site plan? We've had some occasions where we've had some, say, sketch site plans, which have resulted in confusion and.
Right, maybe some whiteout and just instead of garage, put the office there.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely do that.
So I think you want to resubmit it, and it does, it's an existing garage. Now with respect to parking, Hiram, if he's adding parking, does that need to be outside of a setback?
It doesn't necessarily need to be outside the setback. How many people are gonna be using the office?
Just one or two people.
Okay, maximum 2. Okay. And if you have 4 parking spaces, that'd be fine. People, 2, say 2 would come in the car, you might have 2 people come. Those people,
Yeah.
4 spaces.
Yeah, and also just FYI, just a lot of it would be telehealth also. So although, not every single appointment has to be physical, although
Okay, so 4, he's requesting 4, so 4 is documented. It sounds like you should resubmit with, clarification so that all spaces that support your business are within the 500 square feet.
Maybe erect a permanent wall or a wall that, you know, has a small door for a closet or something. Yeah, extra storage or something.
Thank you. I was gonna ask for advice on what to do with this space, so I just need to knock out 100.
Yeah.
Square feet.
Okay, and then, so just resubmit, no action for us this evening,
Okay, so I resubmit to
and
you,
then I think it would come up on our agenda for next week. Okay,
Next month.
next month.
you guys don't have. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Right.
So I need to just redraft that and then bring it back next month.
Yeah, and if you have questions, Veronica's there, and Veronica can talk to Hiram and me.
Okay.
Interior spaces.
Okay.
All
right.
Interior space, you know, show us the interior.
All right, we got
Yeah.
one of, moving on. then.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
The next one is application 2025-15, Michael and Deborah DeGenaro, 107 Amity Road, BNI. Are they here?
I'm here on that.
Oh.
Oh, you better come. Why don't we table this? I'll keep
Do you
it
want
brief.
to?
I'll keep it brief. I would
Okay.
request that the commission receive it tonight, so they
Okay.
can potentially act next month.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do an abbreviated presentation from what I wanted to do, but this is just a site plan use. There should be no need for a public hearing, so I would request that it be received tonight and can be acted upon next month.
Mhm.
So again, in case you, that last public hearing, so fair, licensed professional engineer, overseeing associates here on behalf of the property owner, my friend Deputy DeNiro. To present a site plan application for their business, DeNiro Services LLC. The subject property is 107 Amity Road. It's an industrial zone property on the west side of Amity Road, just north of Ladder across from Old Amity Road. The property is 1.8 acres in size. Currently has a 3-bed house at the front of the property towards the street, as well as a 1-story metal building that is in use as an automotive garage. Their business is DeGenero Services. It's a commercial automotive garage, specializes in truck and equipment repair, including diesel repair, alignments, hydraulic system service, basically medium and heavy equipment repair. The business has existing permits and approvals in place from previous P&Z commission, which I'd like to submit into the record. I can give to Veronica. What is being proposed is a second building to be installed in the southwest corner of the property, footprint of 40 feet by 60 feet, to be a metal building, Butler style building. Falls within all the required setback lines. It is replacing impervious surface, which is currently paved with the building. The area is currently used for outdoor storage, which is properly permitted, but the owner of the property wants to move some of his equipment for specifically for winter storage and is applying for a new building. We do have a third sheet, which is simply a B100 repair plan for septic compliance. It's not intended for construction. The new building will not have any toilets. It will just be used for, specifically, we included a detailed statement of the use, but, indoor storage of equipment being worked on, equipment that has been serviced and is waiting for customer pickup, and materials used in the business. There is no change in the nature of the business. It's an expansion to support existing permitted business on site, and business hours, traffic, and intensity of use will remain the same as was previously achieved. I'm welcome to answer any questions, or if the commission wants to get out of here and handle this next month. That's also fine. You have an architectural sheet. Oh, we do this. For the commission, I'll pass these around and I can submit them to the record for Veronica. It will be a 3-bay metal building with a man door as well. Metal frames prefabricated. Comparable to the building.
Lighting?
No lighting on the building. No.
And, for the application, this is his own equipment, he's putting his own equipment.
But no, it is it's a automotive garage. It's not his own equipment. It's people are bringing stuff to him. It does work for the town. It's a commercial.
An existing
It's an existing business. It's been permitted. We submitted the
Okay.
permits into the record.
Okay,
But no, it's a forward facing. He has customers that come and will drop off equipment and service.
yeah, no, my question was more, pertain more to our moratorium on storage buildings, but it sounds like
It's
it's
entirely,
not a storage building.
and it was specifically stated in the statement of use. This will be exclusively for his business. No rental space will be present. It will only be for use with the existing permanent businesses.
And the location's currently paved and is used as outdoor storage.
That's correct.
Does it need to go to, did you go to inland wetlands? I mean, is everything in accord? But
There's no,
okay, so no requirements for that. There's no bathrooms, so no PVHD.
we have submitted the QBHD for the B100. We've not heard back from them yet, but by next month, certainly, by the time the commission is ready to take action, we'll make sure to submit and
Okay,
approve the receipt.
okay.
But they will need to act because it does trigger the requirements of the B100.
Okay. All right, so we just, before we have any action, we gotta make sure we receive that. So nothing else tonight, then just, no public hearing for this as is? Okay, so just note receiving tonight and present questions for the applicant. Okay, and then it'll be on the agenda for further action at next meeting. Okay. All right, so. Do we have anything to defer, we're deferring item 9 to next month? Okay, I just want to be clear. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That a long as that?
Nah.
Remember the, like, burial on the site? That was a long one. That was not a long one.
I feel like I missed that one, maybe.
I think that was a long
Marker.
And it was like an ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like pretty Julie, that's true.
So mad at the, it was like, oh, it's okay, you know, and we were very concerned because she didn't wanna,
Good, turn camera off.
I took it
she
down.
didn't wanna bury her child. She had to refrigerate it, you know, and hold it. And,